Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
This one's special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge.
You like Baton Rouge?
Not particularly.
Yeah, me neither.
It's kind of dirty. In fact, the people in Baton Rouge don't really like Baton Rouge.
Huh.
I
But
mean,
they always talk about College
like,
Station.
Well, yeah, I know, but there was like 80,000 people in a neighborhood kind of thing, and they were able to get the Louisiana Supreme Court to agree with their argument that they should be that they're able to break off from
Annex or not?
No, they broke away and started
yeah.
their own town. It's called St. George's because they hated Baton Rouge. So Baton Rouge, I love one guy there.
Yeah, that guy's great.
Yeah.
I love Quinn. I like the gumbo.
I like their gumbo.
Gumbo's really good there. I feel unsafe 90% of the time, but there's a neighborhood right by LSU that's really nice. Really nice.
Is, right?
Really nice.
I think the closer you are to campus,
The nicer it is.
the nicer and safer you are.
Yeah. No, I actually, I think the last time I went with you, buddy. Which I don't think I've been back to Baton Rouge since that speeding ticket.
In Lake Charles.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, great gumbo in Lake Charles. But I'll be heading to Baton Rouge
Later
tonight.
today.
Yes.
You looking forward to it?
Absolutely. A, I'm looking forward to seeing the young man, the son, and then B, tomorrow, I'm looking forward to the Aggies playing LSU, and
So I didn't mean to snap at you, Anthony.
and I think we're all anticipating a victory to nail down at least the number 5 seed in the SEC tournament, maybe nail down a number 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. Watch Wade Taylor set the all-time A&M scoring record.
Hopefully they're on their A game, right?
Yeah.
Like I hope our interns are on their A game, bringing me today's rundown, not last week's rundown. That being said, OB.
Yeah, and that's a genius that did that.
No, he just was the messenger.
He was just the messenger.
It was the messenger. All right. So when it comes to not a trap game, what do we want to call this? You're off an emotional high after beating Auburn.
Yeah.
You got the SEC tournament ahead. Mm-hmm. I know one thing. I know that this team will tackle this game the way they tackle every game, right? Intense, loose balls, all the things we're used to. I just hope on the offensive side of things, it's an efficient showing. Because if it's an efficient showing, I feel confident that A&M can win. And I say that knowing A&M's offense can be all over the place sometimes.
Yes, look, what we're hoping is what we saw against Auburn is a game that is a launching pad for what they're going to do from here on. Last year, about this time, maybe a little earlier, but they got a win and started playing really good offense and got on a roll, right? Maybe it's going to happen again. And what you don't want to do is go to LSU and make the Auburn game look like a fluke.
Yep.
You want to continue that momentum, build on it, show everybody again, yes, we're the team everybody thought we were now and moving forward. We're not a team that's capable of jumping up and having a great game once in a while. We are consistently excellent.
So John Puglisi usually joins us on Fridays. He's got a meeting today, so he won't be able to join us. But he did tweet out, one of the points he tweeted was that he thought Anderson Garcia was the star of the game.
He's great.
And I wouldn't mind if Zachary Reese, who's making his debut at the Social Center, maybe looks at all of Anderson's games this season and the best games, see what it equates to from a victory standpoint. Like when Anderson Garcia, and by the way, you can't really just look at the box score in this conversation because sometimes Anderson's value is not in the box score. So it's going to be a hard project for you, Zach. Maybe collaborate with Matthew Dawson in the back because I do. When he has a really good game, it feels like A&M wins.
Yeah, because they're as much as anything, they're always looking for that third guy.
Yeah.
But he was 11 points, 11 rebounds for number 11.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
11s were wild.
Yeah. And everything that I have read, I know that Luke's done a phenomenal. Luke will be on the show a little bit later. Everything that I've read from Luke, he looks at all the bracket matrix that are out there, and most have A&M as a 3 seed. But to be that 3 seed, they have to beat LSU. I don't know if you have to. You're going to increase your likelihood if you beat LSU and win a game in the SEC tournament. I don't know if they can get to a 2 seed because
that ship probably sailed with the 4-game losing streak. But a 3 seed, beat LSU, win at least a game in Nashville, and then I'd be really surprised if you weren't at least a 3 seed.
Yep, I agree with that. Hey, let's talk Christian Kirk.
Yeah, one of my all-time favorite players.
Did you get to cover him?
Yeah,
you did. Yeah, you were here for him. Yeah,
just spectacular. In fact, people laugh at me sometimes because they always say you just want the Aggies at draft time. I'm always frustrated because the Cowboys didn't draft guys, and I'm like, no, I want them to draft the good ones that I know can play. Imagine if you could have put Christian Kirk and Edge Cooper and Justin Matabike and Devon A-Chain on the Cowboys because they had
over the years they had a chance to draft all of them.
Could have, they'd be a much better team.
I got an idea, Obi.
So I'm glad that Christian is back in the state of Texas.
I agree.
I hope he does really well for the Texans. I expect that he will. I'm not sure Christian is a quote number 1 receiver.
But he can't, on certain days, he is.
Right. He's that number, but as a number 2, he's as good a number 2 receiver as you'll find. I mean, he's so explosive.
100%. So you were saying something there, and I think you're onto something, OB. You know how in baseball it became trendy to get these analytics guys to be your general manager, right? I think it wouldn't be a bad idea for NFL franchises to look at talk show hosts as their scouting director or maybe even their general manager, because who has more intimate knowledge of a particular program than the guy that watches and writes about them every day and doesn't necessarily have biases? Maybe he does. And so like Edge Cooper, you were on top of that train way before everybody else, way before the NFL.
Well, remember, I was saying that the Kansas City Chiefs should have drafted A-Chain in the first round.
Yep.
And I bet they wish they had.
Yep.
You can say we get too close and we're homer up for guys, but hey, I'm just talking about the guys that I know are good football players. I don't get it.
So I'm going to go over some of the stuff I got from Matthew Dawson's article, which was really good. If you didn't check it out, go on TexAgs.com. Christian Kirk made his collegiate debut where?
At Texas A&M. Oh, in Houston against Arizona State, where he had a punt return for a touchdown.
79-yard punt return,
and he turned a short pass into like a 70-yard touchdown. He was spectacular.
106 yards receiving, 79-yard as they beat at the time number 15 Arizona State. That was in 2015. His career, all SEC in college football, all SEC selection, 2-time All-American, SEC Freshman of the Year, SEC Newcomer of the Year, ranks in top 3 all-time in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns, and was the first Aggie ever to post 80-plus catches in consecutive seasons.
And what a threat as a punt returner. Oh, my gosh. I remember they lost the game at Mississippi State, and he did everything he could to win it single-handedly. He had a long punt return for like 85 yards and this is when they were number 4 in the first poll, the first rankings, and he returns a playoff rankings. He returned a punt like 85, maybe 90 yards for a touchdown, had a long touchdown catch, had another one down to like the 5-yard line. Of course, the play calling was horrendous and they didn't even get a field goal out of it. But man, Christian Kirk was so spectacular. He was a first-round talent that was taken in the second round, much like Edger and Cooper.
Right. Yeah, I'm excited that he's going to be 90 miles down the road.
Yeah, I wish he was more like 150 miles up the road.
Right.
But I wish the best for him.
You're going to have to root for the Texans now. They're going to have to become your team.
No, that'll never happen.
Okay.
but I don't root against them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a Dallas guy that roots against Houston teams.
Right. I used to be a Houston guy who rooted against Dallas teams.
Yeah.
And living in Dallas for a few years, the Mavericks did become my team because I worked for them, but I didn't hate the Cowboys. I just, all right, they're the Cowboys. Like, I appreciate the history, the beautiful logo. I'm embarrassed by the way the franchise has been run, for many, many years.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, but I don't root against them.
Well, we're like the Oilers under Bud Adams now.
There was some good, there was some bad. A lot more bad at the end.
Yeah.
All right, you're listening to TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. This particular hour is called the
Go Hour.
Yeah, it's got a sponsor too.
Yeah, CC Creations.
God, they're awesome, aren't they? I'm gonna go later on today to CC Creations, and
That's where I got this shirt.
Is that where you got it?
Yeah.
We're actually above high. We're up high, right?
Up high. Always are, looking down at the masses.
Yeah, and this particular area has a name.
This area right here?
Yeah, the paint.
It's the Cool Zone. The Holistic Planning Cool Zone. Yeah.
What do they do?
Oh, they do a lot of cool stuff.
Like?
Well, like help you with your investments to make money, because making money is cool. Tax time's coming up, so they're going to help you with taxes to keep as much of your money as possible, which is really cool. And then your estate, help you plan your estate, so when you get old and no longer working anymore, you can have some money, which is cool. And part of the way you can get some of that money is investing in professional sports.
And they have a clever website for that.
What would it be?
Investinprosports.com.
Oh, makes sense.
If you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, call us up. What do you think about Christian Kirk? What do you think about the Aggies being a 3 seed? Do they got to beat LSU to keep that? I think they do. It's not a guarantee. They do. And again, these are just people's opinions of what bracketology would be. 979-693-1150. If you call that number, we'll pick it up on the Buppy's Catering Hotline.
What's really important about winning in Baton Rouge is if you win it, you nail down at least a 5 seed, probably a 5 seed, because to have a 4 seed, you actually, among other things.
In the SEC tournament.
Yeah, in the SEC tournament. Among other things, you would have to have Tennessee lose at home to South Carolina, and then Ole Miss would have to win, all those things. But you'd probably nail down a 5 seed, which means the game on Thursday will start at 2:30. If you're a 6th,
Not early. Not earlier.
2:30 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a 6 seed, it starts at 8:30. So selfishly, I'm rooting for that 5 seed.
Selfishly, I'm not going with you on this trip, but I am.
I wish you were.
Yeah, they don't send me to the and I love Nashville. I'm Mr. Nashville.
It's a fun time when we're together.
Yeah.
We have a lot of laughs and jocularity.
I mean, we stay out at least at 9:30.
Oh man,
maybe 9:40.
I think one night my head didn't hit the pillow till 11:15.
Yeah, I remember that night. I had already been in bed for an hour, but you stayed and enjoyed. Let's go around the room and say hi to the people. Behind the glass is our director, the guy who sets the standard, Nick Savage. Good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited for this weekend. Going to be a lot of fun. I don't know if y'all have been paying attention to spring training much, but I think
I haven't paid one other than when I'm at the gym is on the TV.
SOB baseball.
That's it.
Baseball, Major League Baseball.
Yes, sir. But
I'm a Rangers fan. I never pay attention to really anything until
October.
Well, not last year, at least. Not last year.
Yeah.
But anyways, the MLB started doing this thing called the spring breakout, and it's just kind of to promote the prospects, maybe the minor leaguers that you don't really see very much as a fan of your team. And the Aggies are going to have 5 guys represented among their team. Will Johnson with the Athletics. Dustin Signs with the Nationals. Chris Cortez with the Angels. Brandon Montgomery with the White Sox. And Brandon Garcia is going to pitch for the Mariners. So that's going to be cool to see them. And I love that Brandon Montgomery's already, kind of one of the up-and-coming prospects in the major leagues.
You know, I have pretty good things for is Chris Cortez.
Yeah.
And that as he continues to improve, I hope he does. Yeah, just such a live arm.
Yeah, he was so his bounce back. I say bounce back. His bounce back season last season.
Yeah.
Right. It really changed the trajectory of his major league career, or of his pro potential. And remember, he was good before that, but he struggled a little bit, and he cleaned it up.
Yeah. He was like Nuke LaLoosh.
Nuke LaLoosh. Bull Durham.
Winning is better than losing.
Do you think if there's any chance that Zachary Reese knows what we're talking about?
No way.
Zachary Reese at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Do you know who Nick LaLoosh is?
Nuke LaLoosh.
I do not, David. I do not.
How about Ebby Calvin LaLoosh?
I am sad to say I do not.
How about Bull Durham?
I do know who Bull Durham is.
Who's Bull Durham?
I know it's a baseball movie.
But who's Bull?
I thought he was going to say the first baseman for the Chicago Cubs back in the 80s or 90s.
Yeah.
Leon Bull Durham.
I will have to admit I don't know who it is, but I do know Bull Durham's a baseball movie though.
Okay.
Obviously, he never watched it.
No. Can you name one actor from that movie? Just one.
I can look it up if
No,
you
no,
want
no.
me to. Yeah.
Are you familiar with Kevin Costner?
I do know who Kevin Costner is.
Susan Sarandon. You have no clue who that is.
Yeah, I have no clue.
Okay. Tim Robbins.
Tim Robbins?
I've heard the name, but can't really put a name to his face.
Ivan Polinsky.
Well, I'm sorry, David.
Yeah, he was not in the movie.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, welcome to TexAgs Live. I know you've been working behind the scenes, your first day on the Social Center. Tell us a little bit about you. Where are you from, Zach?
Yeah, I'm from Huffman, Texas. Nobody knows where that's at. It's about hour 45 minutes from College Station, northeast of the Houston area. Yeah, OB knows where it is. Not a lot of people know where it is.
So your roommate, he's one of the few people who have actually seen me at the jiu-jitsu gym.
Yes, sir.
James, so shout out to James. All right, tell us what's going on in your world. What's going on at the Social Center?
Oh, yeah. So number 4, Texas A&M softball is taking on number 3, Florida this weekend. Texas A&M is 20-2 overall on the year, and we are 11-1 at home this year. And then kind of more on the men's tennis front. So number 15, Texas A&M men's tennis defeated Auburn yesterday at the Mitchell Tennis Center. Freshman Theo Papamalamas clinched the victory for the Aggies, and this also extended Auburn's losing streak on the road. And Texas A&M baseball is taking on New Mexico State this year. Or
this
tomorrow,
weekend,
New Mexico State is 7-5 on the year. They have series wins over Oakland and Western Illinois.
So it's 2 Aggies teams that are both 7-5.
Yeah,
it's kind of an Aggie thing this
feels
year.
like a football season.
Yeah,
not ours. I hope. God, please no. Anyway, thank you very much. Great job. Appreciate you.
Thanks.
Obi, when we come back,
okay.
Kay Naegeli.
Kay Naegeli.
Around Aggieland.
Okay.
After that, Luke Evangelist.
Luke Evangelist.
After that, Bank on It.
Bank on It.
After that, the Baseball Bunch. Without Scott Clendenin, so it's not going to be as good.
It can't be the Baseball Bunch.
Yeah, it's just the baseball.
Yeah,
the baseball.
Or just the bunch.
The bunch. There you go.
The
Yeah,
bunch.
Scott is the baseball bunch. So it'll be Richard and Bronny at 9:45.
Bronny's a bunch by himself.
Well, he likes to munch. And after that, we're going to have Ross Dellenger.
Oh, that'll be exciting.
He's good. I like Ross.
Yeah, he's good. Good
very
reporter.
good reporter. And after that,
well, there's more.
And there's more.
William Liucci.
Oh, that's right. He is going to be on the show.
Is that the?
He's the one.
Is that where? Yeah.
Billy Liucci on the show.
The Don.
We will probably talk.
The Godfather.
We'll probably talk about that interview with Trev Alberts.
I'm sure you will.
We will talk Christian Kirk.
I'm sure you will.
We will talk some baseball.
Okay.
We will talk some basketball.
Yeah, basketball.
Yeah. And we'll talk geopolitics. No,
Excellent.
we won't do that. All right, let's talk 1775.
There you go.
Okay.
I'm always ready to talk about 1775. There's never a bad time to talk A&M football.
Or
there's never a bad time to eat 1775 barbecue. Now, there's sometimes you don't have an opportunity to,
Sure.
but you can today because it's open Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. If you want to have the best barbecue maybe ever, you go to 1775. You know what I'd like?
I think you like the succulent
brisket. It is succulent, and I like the pork ribs.
Oh,
because I like to pick out pork ribs. I like the sausage with jalapeno and cheese
in
all
there,
mixed in there.
Just-
And if you're watching it a little bit, they got turkey, and it's really good. I'm telling you, it's really good. And then I'm doing that carnivore diet, so I would have to stay away.
How do you
from
feel,
it.
by the way? Do you feel a
I've
little
lost
more
4
energized?
pounds.
But do you feel energized?
No, and I feel hangry a lot. But I've lost 4
You're
pounds.
not eating enough meat then, bro.
Believe me, I'm eating enough. Of course, you can never get enough when I go to 1775.
Yeah, 1775.
I just wish I could get that queso mac and cheese.
1775 is the place to go. 1775txbbq.com is the website. Go check them out. It's delish. And as a reminder, the final segment of the program is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been around Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls, reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. Today is Friday. I don't know what the heck I'm thinking. Friday, March the 7th, 2025. He's Olin Buchanan.
You sure about that? 2025?
Pretty sure.
Okay.
Pretty until you ask me again.
After you said Tuesday.
Yeah. Today's Tuesday. Taco Tuesday. TexAgs Live presented by
Fajita Friday.
I could use a fajita right now. And by the way, I want to go over your carnivore off the air. I want to make sure you're doing it right. Anyway, we're TexAgs Live. I already told you that. Around Aggieland time, presented by Normandy State Bank. Normandy State Bank, rock solid banking. The website is normandystatebank.com. And with that, we have Kay Naegeli.
Wow, you sang this morning. Speaking of 2025 and years, Jason Howell just put out a great article. A&M just offered a 2029 prospect yesterday.
In what?
Are we just football?
Okay.
Are we just, we're all old officially. I think that was just, that more set in for me.
2029, that would
2029.
So that would mean that they are in 8th grade? Am I doing the math right?
About to be a freshman?
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, probably.
It's crazy. Life comes at you fast.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll get into Around Aggieland. On the same football note, the Jaguars planned on releasing Christian Kirk, and then not even 24 hours later, Diana Rossini reported that Kirk will be headed to Houston. He is now a Houston Texan back in the Lone Star State. He is a great Aggie, and we are glad to have him. That trade was for a 2026 7th-round pick. Kirk has been ultra productive in his career in the NFL, and we look forward to seeing what he does in Houston. So moving over to the hardwood, basketball is coming off a huge win over number 1 Auburn, a historic win. They look to finish SEC play on a strong note, heading at LSU this weekend. OB will be there to watch Wade Taylor break the all-time scoring record. He is just 9 points away from breaking Bernard King's record of 1,990 points. So we look forward to Wade doing that. It was awesome to see his jersey get retired over the weekend. Women's basketball on Wednesday in Greenville, South Carolina. Joni Taylor and the Aggies suffered their 11th straight loss to end the 2024-2025 season on a sour note. Tennessee eliminated Texas A&M from the SEC tournament, and they concluded their year at 10-19 overall. Moving over to baseball, the number 14 team welcomes New Mexico State to Olsen Field at Bluebell Park for its final non-conference 3-game set. Starting Friday night at 6 p.m., Game 2 is slated for 2 p.m. on Saturday, and the finale is at 1 p.m. And I will leave y'all off on this note because this is my favorite program to talk about right now. Aggie softball, they are 20-2. The number 4 Aggies are set to take on number 3 Florida on SEC opening weekend, marking the first ever top 5 showdown in Aggieland in the sport of softball. Trisha Ford is doing awesome things with that program. First pitch is tonight at 6 p.m. over at Davis Diamond, and that will go throughout the weekend. So I'll let y'all talk a little bit about Trisha Ford.
Yeah, so she's one of my favorite guests on the show.
Yeah, she's fun.
And she wins. Fun and wins.
Well, winning is fun.
Yeah, that's true.
They kind of go hand in hand.
But she's such a likable person, too.
She's likable.
Yeah.
But you know what? You can be a likable coach.
You can be a hateable coach.
And if you don't win.
Yeah, this is true. You could be a hateable coach, but if you win.
If you win, yeah. Unless, the only time I ever saw a winning coach who was basically get fired for being a turd was Bo Pelini at Nebraska.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they just finally said, well, you know what? I don't care how much you win. Anymore. Get the hell out.
Yeah. I'm trying to think to myself, like Popovich, the image of him looks like he is not a nice person. I mean, I'm sure his players liked him. But I don't know how the media felt about him. Not that the media matters, but like, I'm trying to think. Mean, like Belichick, he won. Didn't matter if he was nice or mean, right? He was a winner. Saban, I don't think mean's the right word. Intense, maybe?
Well, you hear some of the things that, guys who played for him in the NFL said, he was maybe mean. Got hurt and he just steps over him. Right. Stuff like that. But they're very intense. I think Popovich is a really good coach when he has
Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili and Tony
Robinson,
Parker and
yeah,
Robert Horry.
yeah,
Hall of Famer.
yeah. Kind of sucks when he doesn't have those guys, huh?
How do you think Phil Jackson would do? I think there's something to be said about in all sports, a guy that knows how to manage those kind of egos.
One of my, yeah, but I don't think that the Spurs had a lot of egos.
No. I'm just saying, like, managing stars.
Yeah. One of my all-time favorite quotes, and it was about Phil Jackson, was from, if you follow basketball, you might remember Nick Van Axel, who said, I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to clean it. He said, let's see if that Zen stuff, let's see how that Zen stuff works with the Clippers, back when the Clippers were terrible. Yeah. I mean, he was a great coach with Jordan and then
Shaq.
Yeah. Bryant.
Kobe.
Yeah. Great coach.
Yeah.
I think I could have been a great coach for those Bulls team.
Let me just go ahead and tell you, though, not to make this an NBA show because we'll lose all of our viewers and listeners. Kurt Rambis was the coach before Phil Jackson, and he had that same roster. They didn't do jack. He got fired. So there is something about knowing how to manage personalities, and knowing how to push the right button.
All right.
You disagree?
I think you had to be incompetent not to win with Shaq and Kobe, right?
Yeah.
That if you're just competent, you're going to win.
Rick Carlisle, great coach.
Won his championship.
Heck yeah. Great coach. Hall of Fame coach.
Okay.
In my opinion.
All right.
Nobody cares about this on TexAgs. That's okay. I just had to have a moment. When we come back, something that people care about. Not Luke. We like Luke, but I don't know if care is the right word. We care about Aggie basketball.
Yeah, I like Luke the way I kind of like.
Hey there. Hey, Kay.
I have to think about it. I like Luke the way I kind of like a mascot.
Okay.
Like he's our Reveille.
What about another team's mascot? I love Reveille, so I'm not going to do that with Luke.
Okay, he's Smokey, kind of a hound dog.
You okay?
Yeah.
You okay with it?
I like Smokey.
Okay. Let's talk Rollo Insurance. This show's all over the place. It's my fault. I thought it was Tuesday. Yeah, I'm singing to Kay Naegeli on the show. It's just been a disaster.
Everybody feels good.
You know what? We had a great text this morning about the amount of guests that TexAgs as a company, not TexAgs Live, but we had Marcel Reed with Armage Reed Adams doing his first Read Between the Lines podcast.
Got to see that.
We had Trev Alberts yesterday.
Yeah.
We had Josh Pate. Like we've had a lot of really good guests.
Yeah, you guys are hitting it out of the park this week.
A lot of them.
Hopefully that Aggies can hit it out of the park similarly this weekend.
And
both men and women.
And hopefully you hit it out of the park when choosing an insurance agent, like my friends at Rollo Insurance. Check out rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. They got 60 offices in the great state of Texas. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish all of your insurance goals. They can write any form of insurance to anyone in around the world, right? And they can take care of you for your farmer's insurance, your ranch insurance, your driver's insurance, your homeowners, whatever it may be. Let the crew at Rollo Insurance, by the way, you'll get their cell phone number. You'll be able to call them on a holiday, whenever. They're going to pick up, take care of you. The number is 888-44-ROLLO or go to rolloinsurance.com. That is 888-44-ROLLO or go to rolloinsurance.com. Hey everybody, we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Appreciate everybody listening in this morning on the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse of CC Creations. David Nuño, Olin Buchanan, and in the middle, the Reveille of TexAgs, Luke Evangelist.
Well, the Smoky.
Oh, Smoky.
Yeah, because like I said, Reveille is female.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we were past that. Continue.
And
we were past that.
Yeah, seems like he's always on my right. Everywhere I go, he's on my right.
So you're on the left.
Because we.
Wow, that's the first time Obi's ever been on the left.
Damn right. Damn right. Proudly. But yeah, he always sits to my right when we're covering A&M basketball together.
Yeah.
All right. So I know there was like a week ago, I was like, there's no chance. And there's still very little chance. There's no chance to get the double bye, right?
Right.
And there is the slip. Look at Obi's face.
There's not getting the double bye.
There's mathematically, it's possible.
When math is involved, you're never truly out of it, right? So after they beat Auburn, beating Auburn was the key because eventually down the list of head-to-head common opponent results, and then the final tiebreaker before a coin flip is record against the number 1 seed, which is Auburn. So beating Auburn gave A&M a window of hope.
Yep.
And then they needed 2 results on Wednesday. They needed Ole Miss to beat Tennessee, which they did. And they needed Oklahoma to beat Missouri, which they did. And those 2, they were both underdogs, and they won. So stranger things have happened now. But they're going to need South Carolina to beat Tennessee.
Yeah. And,
we're not done there if you thought that was bad.
But wait, there's more.
You need Kentucky to beat Missouri.
And
doable. But if that doesn't happen, that's okay because Missouri beating Kentucky would probably be better for A&M's NCAA tournament seed. So kind of a win-win there. And you need A&M to beat LSU, obviously. And with one of the final games of the day, you need Ole Miss to beat Florida.
So they're not getting the double bye.
Technically, using KenPom win probabilities, they have a 0.257% chance.
Huh? Did you say you need Tennessee to lose?
Yeah.
You know who they're playing?
Yeah, South Carolina.
You know where they're playing?
Tennessee.
You know what South Carolina's road record is?
0-whatever.
1-9.
Oh, yeah, 1-9 will
1-9.
But hey, crazier things have happened.
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think.
Maybe that hairdo.
People get struck by lightning every day, and like, what are the percent chance of every other day? The percent chance of that? You're telling me 0.25%, 1/4% is, it'll never happen, it can't happen. What about Miracle on Ice? Do you believe in miracles? Anything can happen.
But you know what? The U.S. had to beat the Russians, right? They had to beat it. But they didn't need somebody else to lose, and then somebody else to lose, and then somebody win on them.
Well, you guys remember there was a scenario where we thought A&M didn't have a chance to make the SEC championship going into the Texas game because then all these things happened on the Auburn night, and it opened the door.
What'd they do?
We didn't win.
Look, here's what the Aggies need to do. They need to go out and beat LSU.
Yep.
And say, all right, we're good. We got that number 5 seed wrapped up. That's great. Look, outstanding. Let's see if that can lead to a number 3, and just go on and not worry about anything else. And if these crazier things have happened, which they have, I think the only crazier things that have ever happened might be when I wrote that whole article about Mark Stoops being the coach at A&M, and I went to bed and I woke up and had to write a column. Well, actually, Mike Elko's going to be. But I think you talk about wanting to draw to an inside straight. That's what you're talking about.
Well, they'll know by the time their game starts because South Carolina plays 2 hours before them. They should have an idea of if it's happening or not.
Wade.
Yeah.
How important is he against LSU? Not that they can win without Wade having a big game. They've done that a lot this year. But stringing together a couple of games, going into the SEC tournament, going into March Madness.
Yeah, I mean, that's key for his confidence. Players like him and Manny, and really any player that's handling the ball a lot, having that confidence is key, and building on those performances is key. I feel like this is a redemption game for Wade because he played against LSU. It was the first time he came back from injury, but he really didn't play that well. It was just kind of I don't know if you remember this game and felt the same way, but A&M won, but it didn't feel like they were dominant really at anything. Wade, I think he finished with 11 or 13 points, but it didn't feel like a Wade game. It felt like he was still getting back from that injury. This is a chance for him. Look, he has a lot to play for. Obviously, he knows he needs 9 points. Everybody knows that. But he's not just going for 9 points. He's there to do whatever it takes to help his team win.
Well, I don't think Wade is ever going to have a confidence issue. You know, I don't think he needs to go out and have a good game for confidence. So I'm not on that.
But there's a swagger to it.
I think he always has swagger. Okay. I mean, however, I will say that applies, and I'd like to see it continue with Manny Obaseki. Because I think if you could, you know, hopefully, I'm not asking Manny to get 20. He had 10 the other night. Looked good doing it.
In 14 minutes, too.
He looked good doing it, right? Remember last year, we've talked about this before, when they started playing really well, Manny had about a 10-game stretch where he was hitting double figures, and it made a huge difference. And so I would love to see Manny build on what he did against Auburn and just continue that upward trend. And I think that would be the biggest factor for A&M moving forward.
If you get that Manny, the one that we saw at the end of last year, and at this point, it's a huge if because we haven't seen it consistently at all this year. If you get that Manny, this team can be that team we talk about going to the Elite Eight, getting to the Sweet 16. Well, guy can be that factor.
I think those last 10 games of last year and what Manny was is one of the reasons, a big reason that A&M was ranked so high to begin the year. They say they got Wade Taylor, they've got a bunch of guys come back. Look what Manny Obaseki did last year, you know, and you know he just hadn't been the same, but he was that guy against Auburn, and it was about this time last year that he emerged. So hopefully, it's going to be history repeating itself for Manny. So I would keep a close eye on Manny against LSU.
Let's do this. Let's hit a break. We'll do bank on it. You stick around for that. We'll get more into it. Right now, we're talking Bird Dog. They are our partners, and they are Aggie owned and operated. They create access to hunting opportunities. They are an Airbnb for hunting, right? So if you love to go hunting, if you're an avid hunter, let them set up all the logistics for you. You go to the website, birddogit.com. You'll learn all about it, and they can take care of everything for you. They can take care for you the add-ons. They can take care of you with the helicopter rides, concerts, the full service, everything, right? That's what they are so great at. And if you're a landowner, they want to help you make money on your land. They can find those tax exemptions. We know about ag exemptions and wildlife, but if you're farming or running cattle, they will optimize and find you those tax benefits. And some of their clients are making an extra $100 to $500 per acre of land. The website is birddogit.com. Check out birddogit.com. Let's talk a little Snaps clothing. David Nuño here, and I love wearing Snaps clothing everywhere. I've got the flannel on right now. You've seen me in the Tailgater collection with the A&M gear. It is fantastic. If you see me around town with my sons, Christian and Cruz, they've got a bunch of Snaps gear. When they have big games for Consol, they wear nice clothes, so they wear their Snap stuff. And I'm telling you, with baseball season here, let's all kind of go looking stylish and fit to the games. They're at Olsen wearing the Snaps clothing. As a reminder, they are the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snaps maker out there. Their Tailgater collection is built for game day with breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics to keep you comfortable while you rep your Aggies in style. Now, whether you're watching the game from home or maybe you're in attendance, you're tailgating, whatever it may be, you got to make sure you head to snapsclothing.com to see everything they have to offer. It is fashionable, it is awesome, and you're going to love it. Good song right there. Time to do Bank on It, presented by Vera Bank. Authentic relationship-based banking built for real life. Go see Joel Jackson and the team. Learn more at verabank.com. OB, what are you banking on?
Well, how about Wade Taylor becoming the all-time leading scorer for A&M? How's that for low-hanging
Well, I'm going to
fruit?
take it another step. He's going to do it in the first half against LSU.
He may do it on his first 3 shots.
Yeah, that could happen.
Why'd you laugh like it was impossible? Like,
No, I'm not.
That was a sinister laugh.
No, I was just laughing at the fact because, that's true. Wade is going to come out there.
He's
He's going to come shooting it.
One game which they lost, I can't remember which one it was. He hit his first 3 shots were all threes, and I don't think he had another one. I can't remember the game it was. It was early.
Yeah.
But anyway, how about, I'd like to say Manny for all the reasons that we just talked about, but man, is anybody really playing any better than Pharrell Payne?
That's what I was going to say. For LSU struggles in interior. That's the best way to put it.
So
they give up 53% of their.
Let's be specific. We're talking about a 20-10 kind of game.
No, okay, that's.
Okay.
I can't put that big of a numbers on it, but I think if let's
16-8.
I think that's entirely possible.
I would say the 20 more than the 10.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, LSU does struggle with giving up a lot of offensive rebounds, and Pharrell Payne is right there to collect offensive rebounds and then put them back for points to get to 20 and 10. I'm not going to say he's going for 20 and 10, but I'll say 15 and 15 and.
Do you understand
6.
what bank on it is?
Yeah, I'm going to bank on
something
15
that
and
like
6.
it's you can go. You can be a little crazy with your pick.
Okay.
Because you're like
triple double for Pharrell Payne.
Oh, don't get out.
But that's too crazy for bank on it. Okay.
If it happens, then you're great. The more extreme you go, that's correct. The better.
What's more likely to happen? Pharrell Payne get a triple double.
I already know where he's going.
A&M to get the double bye.
Triple double. I'm going with the triple double.
Okay, Pharrell Payne, 15 points, 7 rebounds.
Oh, a typical night. We're moving on from you. Did you look up the Anderson Garcia double-double in his career? What is A&M's record while he's at A&M? Excuse me. Yeah, what's A&M's record while he's been here when he has a double-double?
Yeah, so A&M is 5-1 overall with Anderson Garcia having a double-double.
Yeah, they're 11-3 in his career when he just scores more than 10 points.
So that sounds like, to me, the recipe.
That does. If LSU does struggle and Corey Chest doesn't play like he didn't play last game, they're going to be weak inside, and A&M can take advantage of that.
You know what's really interesting about him? He's kind of quietly become a 3-point shooting threat.
Mm-hmm.
And as Billy has correctly...
He's shooting well at the free throw line, too.
As Billy has correctly said, he also's got really good timing, right? He doesn't take too many. Mm-hmm. If he misses, he kind of moves on, right? If he hits a couple, he'll try one more, and I'm good. Like he doesn't overdo it.
Exactly. He's going to take his first 3 probably within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And if he makes it, okay, he'll take 1 or 2 more. But when he does that, it's either a 2 for 2 night from 3 for Andy, or it's like 0 for 1.
Yeah.
If he's not making it, he won't take it. He'll find something else.
Are you banking on Andy as a double-double? Is that what where you're getting
there you go. I already did my bank on it with Wade going to score the 9 in the first half. But I'll take it a step further. Double-double Anderson Garcia.
It's interesting, though. Wade, it seems to me, I don't know this, it could be dead wrong on this. Seems to me he definitely was against Auburn. More of a second-half player. More of a second-half scorer.
Yeah.
Seems like he does most of his scoring in the second half.
A&M is a second-half team.
Unless they're in Austin.
Oh.
Or playing Tennessee here.
Oh. Yeah.
Sorry.
Something about that.
Hey, you know what they are now? Maybe now they're a complete, full game team after what they did against Auburn.
I know it's going to sound like I'm picking on you. I'm not picking on you. But you mentioned Auburn being potentially one of the best teams ever, right?
They are.
But hold on.
One of the 6 best teams in KenPom over the last 27 years.
Okay, but I think you, and definitely, I think OB, and I know me, I think Florida's better than them.
Florida is playing better than them.
Right?
Yeah, Florida beat them at Auburn. Florida's playing better than them. Florida's healthier than them.
Mm-hmm.
Auburn.
What does that make Florida?
They're better than them right now, but Auburn will be the number 1 overall seed.
I'll say if they're
But I don't want to see Florida. I don't want any team.
I would rather play Auburn again than Florida again.
Even put Denver Jones on the court for Auburn, I would rather play Auburn right now than Florida. They're figuring it out.
if Auburn and Florida meet in the NCAA tournament, I'm going to be picking Auburn.
I mean, it would be a great game.
I might pick Florida. I think I might.
How many teams are from the SEC are going to be in the Final Four?
2.
The thing is, the SEC doesn't have the best tournament success, and Duke is going to be there.
I don't know that Duke's going to be
Houston?
Houston might just be there.
Nobody's talking about
This
Houston
is like
this
the
year.
deepest, to me, this is the deepest
Of all time.
1 through 8 seeds. This is the deepest the field has ever been. There are some 8 seeds that any other year would be a 5 seed.
I can't. I just can't. Everything is.
Don't take it from me. Take it from the dudes the experts and the bracketologists who
The
cover
correct
the
answer
sport.
is 4. It's going to be a 4 SEC.
So it's hard for me to say
an
that
all-SEC
there's going to be
Final
4 SEC teams or even 3 or 2 when
They're going to say,
there are
welcome to the
teams
SEC
like
Invitational.
there are 5 seeds out there like even a
Like
team like
A&M?
St. John's that can make runs. There are so
You mean
many
like
great
A&M?
teams.
A&M, yeah.
like 5 seeds.
Exactly. Anything could happen, and that's why I can't. I would say 2. 2 is fair.
Thank you for telling us how to make a watch when we asked you what time it was.
Whatever. Sorry, I want to be a little bit conservative. When have you ever had a problem with that?
Look at this guy.
He made Nick laugh loud, so I can hear him here. Okay. Luke, great job as always, buddy. Thank you
Thanks.
very much. OB?
Can you get conservative with a haircut?
I actually do have a plan
Do
to
you
get a haircut this weekend.
Mousse or hairspray? I'm actually
This is
asking.
all natural, simply
This
just
is not
conditioner.
natural.
This is.
It's puffy like that?
Yeah.
Mark, say something to him.
I'm getting a haircut this weekend.
Please. Thank you very much. When we come back on TexAgs Live, the baseball bunch. See you in a bit. We're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. OB says to drop the name baseball. It's just a bunch here because Scott Clendenin is not here. Ryan Brauninger and Richard Zane. Good morning, friends.
I don't make it a habit of listening to the Go Hour for obvious brain function reasons. But I did flip the car. I was in the car and I hadn't gotten my phone plugged in yet. And you and Olin came on. And for a guy that says you don't make fun of people.
Yep. No, I didn't say I don't usually start the war.
Well, Olin really didn't, but both of you kind of chimed in about Richard and I guess our lack of baseball knowledge. But then you said that Then you said
I did say munch.
You said I like to munch a bunch.
Yeah, I thought it rhymed. I thought it was great.
Munch a bunch of crunch a munch.
What could that
what did I at all say anything about your baseball acumen?
You said that when Scott's here, it's not the baseball bunch; it's just a bunch. And
no,
maybe
that was Olin,
but you were just lapping it up, just yucking it up. With him.
I think Scott Clendenin is a genius. I do. Okay, I've known that guy probably your entire life. What year were you born?
1997.
Yeah, I've known him your whole life. I've known Scott Clendenin since 1997.
I'm sorry.
Hey, listen, I grew up right next to the jails in Beaumont. That doesn't make me an expert on prison reform.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Just because you've known something, just because you grew up around something doesn't mean you're an expert at it. You can go watch all.
I'm not an expert at my relationship with Scott Clendenin. I think
I'm just saying. No. You don't. You said he's a baseball expert. Genius is what you said.
I think he is.
Okay.
Just like I think Kanye West
Savant
was.
even. Savant.
What'd you say about?
Like Kanye West was.
Wow. Okay, so we've had Susan Sarandon references and Kanye references. That's two of the leaders of that community.
Well, I think it's
What'd I say?
I don't know. I didn't know Susan Sarandon and Kanye were. It's kind of a weird juxtaposition to be a part of this of one community.
Well, they would hate people of my persuasion. Is all I'm saying.
What? Baseball fans? All right. So because I think it's been an interesting start to the season.
Interesting start to the segment.
Right? The whole show. I said it was Tuesday at one point. Okay? I don't know. Anyway. I usually ask you guys about the state of the team at this point. When we started off, this is kind of like a first talking point. And I do want to start with that, but kind of following up what we talked about yesterday, Richard.
Hold on, time out. They are screaming back there.
You can see Kelsey Beasley's shown up and is the vibes have gone through the roof.
Yes.
And that's awesome for the company culture, but I can guarantee that nobody except for Nick Savage right there in his director's chair is on task right now.
Matthew Dawson.
And Matthew Dawson. Yeah, I'll say Matthew Dawson.
Yep.
And he's getting on to him. Get on him, Nick. Get on him. Attaboy.
We just lost 9 more listeners. All right, so.
Down to 1.
Negatives.
I think my mom's tuning in.
Oh, hey. How are you? So, as I was saying, the state of the team. Let's go state of the team, state of where we are, considering what I asked you yesterday about, do we have to reconsider our preseason expectations? Bronny, start us off.
Yeah, I think if you would have gone into this season, so in early January when all these preseason prognostications came out and we started making predictions on the season, and at that moment, if you would have known that you were going to be without Gavin Grohovic for basically the entirety of the season, and you were going to be without Caden Sorrell for the first month and a half of the season, and then you were going to be without Josh Stewart, your most trusted arm on the back end of the bullpen, not named Brad Rudis, then yeah, I think that I would have altered my preseason predictions, especially offensively. And had we known that Gavin was going to play for, a week and a half, 2 weeks, with a really banged up shoulder that was going to make him something other than what we saw last year, then yeah, I would have changed my preseason prognostications. That doesn't mean they still can't be successful this season, but this is a vastly different team than what we anticipated going into January. No question about it. You cannot lose. We talked about this a lot. You cannot lose the talent of Gavin Grohovic, Caden Sorrell, and Josh Stewart and expect to be the exact same. It's just not going to happen. There's not a sport on campus. There's not a college baseball team in the country that could withstand those injuries. So when you compound that, now I'm not making any excuses and saying that's the sole reason why this team has played poorly or has been, I guess, poorly at times, played well at times, but really the ups and downs, I'm not making an excuse for that's the sole reason why, but it is definitely a piece to this puzzle, no question.
So let me follow that up, and then Richard jump in. But to me, that scenario you painted out, which is all true, I thought would have reared its head in SEC play based on that information, not necessarily with the schedule that they've started with this year.
Sure. It's a confluence of issues, right? Like there's a lot of stuff that has come together. But I think when you alter the starting nine the way that you had to do, I mean, you looked up in Houston one day at Dyken Park in that tournament, and there's 3 true freshmen in the lineup. Under no circumstance did any of our preseason prognostications have even 1 true freshman in the lineup by the time we got to SEC play.
Right.
And we've played a game where there's been 3 in there. So, yes, the structure of the team has been altered by the injuries, but on top of that, they've been really slow on offense, and there's reasons. I mean, you got to dive into it and try to find that out. This team is still trying to form an identity. I think you have a head coach who is trying to form his identity as a head coach, and that's something I really want to get into later on in the segment. But I think it's just a confluence of issues, but those injuries certainly are a part of that.
I mean, you and I talked about this yesterday after the Michael Early interview on TexAgs Live, and I sat there and I talked about the preseason expectations. Those shouldn't even be considered anymore, right? This is our 4th weekend of the season, so what you were ranked in the preseason really does not matter 1 iota anymore, right? It's all about who's going to be ranked number 1 at the end of the year, who's the last team standing, and Texas A&M still has the talent within its program to get there. Right? I think the expectations placed on this team and this first-year head coach, when you go back and look at what A&M lost offensively, those expectations might have been a little bit lofty to begin with, right? We know Hayden Schott, Jace Lavalette, and guys, Graden Grahovic obviously not playing, Caden Sorrell not playing. The ones who are playing aren't performing up to standard, or at least what we saw last year. But think about what you lost, right? Behind the plate, you lost Jackson Appel, who hit .330 last year. You lost Ted Burton, who was fantastic around first base. Caden Kent wasn't playing second base for you most of last year. You lost Ollie Camarillo, right? Think about all the losses you've had to suffer. Braden Montgomery, for sure, the biggest one, right? You're trying to replace your highest drafted player ever. So, and that's not to say that they don't have the talent to do that, right? Development's a great thing, and every year people step up and take on those roles, and there's no reason why certain players can't. We just have to see it. So if you're still judging this team based on what they were ranked in the preseason, I think that's unfair, and it's going to hinder your ability to appreciate, hopefully, what this team is capable of doing.
Well, a lot of people don't want to have a nuanced discussion about this. They really don't. I just want to make a commentary on something we saw this week, Richard and I. On Tuesday night, there were 2 separate game threads on our premium message board. The basketball team was playing number 1 at home on senior night with a group of players that has really sold out for this university and been highly successful. Luke was running that thread. Richard was running the game thread against UTSA for baseball, a midweek opponent. And the baseball thread with the loss got double the views and double the comments than the basketball thread.
What does that mean?
The next night against Texas Southern, a win.
Crickets.
That thread got half of the UTSA thread, maybe even less, and half the comments.
So what you're saying, and by the way, I'm kind of playing dumb because I knew that because Brauninger and I spoke yesterday. What you're saying is people are way more interested in the negative than they are in the positive.
I don't understand. It's like you're always waiting on the other shoe to drop, and when it does, you're happy, or like it gives you some type of fulfillment that you need to go out and vent, anonymously vent, but vent on a message board or on Twitter. I don't know that you can change that type of behavior in people. I think that's just kind of the online culture right now. And I don't know the reasons for it. We sign our name to everything we say. Other people don't. But I think that you just got to hang in with this baseball. And if you're an A&M fan, I know these kids. I know the staff. Like, they're working. Nobody's more disappointed in this stuff than they are.
Yeah.
But you just keep showing up. You believe in these guys because what you've seen them do in the past. Maybe they was here or at another stop. and you just keep going to the ballpark because you never know what's going to be the moment that makes this team click. And really, remember last year we talked so much about the fan base and the team connecting and how like the fans were pulling the team through in some of those games at Bluebell Park. So far this year, and credit to the student section, 202 and 203 have shown up, and they've been really good. But there's just been nothing yet for the fan base to grab onto with this team, and vice versa. So the reason why you keep going to the ballpark and keep pulling for these guys and jump on their back and really pull, because you remember all the special moments you had at the ballpark last year and how much fun that was. You can get that with this team. They're certainly talented enough to do it. They're just working through some stuff. Whereas last year, if you look at the Ole Miss and LSU series, what if the way they played in those two series would have been how they started the year? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Go back to 2022. You know what their record was through 11 games? 7-4. You know what it was in 2023? 7-4. 2024 was the outlier. This year they were 6-5 through 11.
And this sport, more than any, lends itself to a turnaround, right?
Mm-hmm.
You guys are both Astros fans. What was the beginning of 2024 like for the Houston Astros?
They were awful.
Yeah, and what they end up doing? They won their division.
Yeah,
right?
again.
They're able to turn it around. This sport, it's way too early to sell out and be out on this ball club.
Well, and also, people don't love when we go to the optimism during a negative feel vibe. Back to your point, Bronny. But if we are going to be optimistic, this pitching staff is still elite.
Well, I think if you're looking for areas that to hang your hat on, right? The starting rotation, the weekend rotation, the starting pitching really in general is what I think is the best element of this club by a long shot right now. If you just look at what has happened up to this point in the season, what you would say is the starting pitching has been great. And it's headlined by Ryan Prager and those three lefties on the weekend. But I like what I've seen out of Aiden Sims in 2 starts.
Yep.
And then I thought there was been some appearances in the midweek that I really enjoyed. Caden McCoy, Gavin Lyons. So you're finding some more young depth pieces in the bullpen. Brad Rudis has been great. He's been really good.
I liked what I saw from Freshcorn on Wednesday night.
And I like that they keep running Freshcorn out there. But where they're making their most hay right now is starting pitching. And if you have an offense that is waffling and not playing up to the standard that you think they can play, what will keep you in games? Starting pitching. So as much as they have struggled to score runs and play clean on defense, the starting pitching, you look at the series in Houston, that starting pitching kept them in the Arizona and Oklahoma State game. I mean, I love what I saw to Justin Lampkin last week in a 4-0 loss because it completely melted down around him, behind him, like defensively, and he just kept attacking a really talented lineup in Oklahoma State. He's had better games statistically, but in terms of like bulldog mentality and pitching with some spine and backbone, that was my favorite Justin Lampkin start.
The offense is averaging 2.2 runs per game in losses. Right, the pitching has been fantastic.
Yeah.
But the pitching is not the reason they're losing games. And that extends beyond the starting rotation. Bronny just said the bullpen's been good. People want to complain about the bullpen because they got unlucky against Cal Poly and they got unlucky against Arizona State and they lost those games.
I would say not so much unlucky against Cal Poly. Like Cal Poly, yes, they benefited from 2 errors at third base, but that was a game where Clayton Freshcorn got hit, actually like legitimately beat around a little bit. The rest of his outings, he's been the most unlucky pitcher in college baseball. When you look at expected outcomes on balls in play based off the metrics, he's got a really low, what you would expect to be hits, and they're turning out to be hits just because they're soft ground balls in the right spot or flared singles in no man's land. So I really think Freshcorn pitching through this unlucky spell could be really good for this ball club going forward. But Richard's right. Outside of one bad inning against Texas State last week and one bad inning against UTSA on Tuesday, the bullpen has been pretty stinking good.
So Derm Doc Weldon says, the hitting is perplexing. To have veteran players go in a slump at the same time is weird. I have to believe this will get better. And I know we talked about losing Gavin, right, and Caden. But we know players in this lineup are better than they're showing. And They've done it multiple times. It's not like they've just had one good season.
And I think, go ahead.
So no, I mean, Bronny's got the statistics on it because he got help from our stats genius Matthew Dawson on first pitch swings. Like the approach hasn't been what it is marketed at, right? They haven't been getting as deep in counts as we've seen them in the past, leading to a lot of early count outs, ground balls, weak ground balls, and fly outs, stuff like that. But then you're also not seeing the returns for a guy like Jace Lavalette. Because this week he stung at least 3 balls over 100 miles an hour and had no hits for 104 miles an hour and has nothing to show for it, at least in the midweek. He's close, right? The approach this week, we saw it, I mean, it's Texas State and they can't really throw strikes that well, but they worked 8 walks. So they're getting back to who they are. And when you combine...
Texas Southern.
Yeah, sorry, Texas Southern, excuse me. When you combine the approach with the fact that the law of averages is going to eventually, work itself out and the balls are going to either go over the wall or find grass, they're going to start scoring runs. There are signs that they are close. They just have to break down that door.
I've been really encouraged by the last week for Gavin Cash.
Yep.
Now he's starting to look like the guy that was at Texas Tech and one of the best hitters in the Big 12. You can see the confidence emerging. We got to talk about what they did defensively on Wednesday night, moving him to first base and what that can mean going forward. But when you talk about the experience in this lineup, you've got Sawyer Farr, Yamal George, and Terrence Keel Jr. in your starting lineup. That's not a lot of experience.
Yeah.
And I also think there are guys like Jace Lavalette. The reason why Dalen Holt's career home run record still stands is because of the north wind at Bluebell Park. Point blank, period. It's not an excuse. It stinks for Jace, but he's making really quality contact. And without that wind, he's at 4 homers in the midweek, 2 against UTSA and the opposite way, and then 2 against Texas Southern to dead center field. So Jace is making quality contact. And then he also had a line out with the bases loaded. That was just right at the first baseman to end an inning. So Jace has been really unlucky, but you're encouraged by his ball striking quality right now. I think Hayden's shot is not all the way back. We're seeing a little bit, some glimpses of Hayden coming back, but he's not all the way back to what we've seen him in terms of his form. And then there are guys like Jacob Galloway. I've really liked Jacob Galloway's at-bats, and he just doesn't have the hits to show for the quality of at-bats up to this point. But I really like what Jacob's done in the batter's box. So you talk about experience. There's guys that have experience in college baseball. There's some guys that have experience in this program. But right now, because of those injuries, it's a lot less experience than we thought it would be coming into the season.
And before we hit the break, I want to give some love to Wyatt Hensler and Caden Kent. Really the only 2 guys that have been producing consistently as Jace comes around, as Gavin comes around, as Hayden comes around. It's just that lineup. You're going to watch it get longer and longer and more difficult to pitch to.
Yep. All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back. I want to talk identity that you mentioned there, Bronny, and also we'll talk about some of those defensive adjustments. Milliken Reserve Time, farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got farms. They have wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. They got some really cool events coming up. They got Milliken Reserve Fishing Day, March 11th, 9 to 12. They've got Day at Play, Sunrise Coffee, a lot of cool events. Mystery Hike, which is coming up on March the 8th at 9 a.m., and then the trail running with the Lone Stars that they do all the time. It is a great community to go live or just to go hang out, be with your family, right? Nature and each other. The website is millikenreserve.com. That website again, millikenreserve.com. Go check it out.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Liucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Liucci sent you by.
I like this. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is hour number 2 with the bunch. We've got Bronny and Richard Zane here. All right, gentlemen, let's talk about not only team identity, but Coach Early forming an identity in year 1. And like when you go into a new role, you have, before you get into a role, because I've had different roles, you have this vision of what you think it's going to look like, right? And then there's the actuality. Like when I got to TexAgs, like I had this vision of what my role was going to look like. And then you're there, and then you have to like form it based on the circumstances.
Yeah, as much like a baseball game, you can have a plan going in of what you expect it to look like, and it very rarely goes exactly the same way. And to your point, when I started at TexAgs, I had a vision of what I thought my job responsibilities were going to look like day to day. And when I got here, especially back then, it was vastly different. And so you don't know how you are going to respond to all of that until you're actually in it. Coach Early had never been a head coach and managed a game with anything on the line until February 14th, the first time. So all of this stuff that he's going through, he's forming his identity as a head coach, because there's no way you can prepare yourself for everything unless everything goes to exactly the plan you had before the season. And we already know that it didn't start that way, right? With no Grahovic being injured, and then now no Grahovic, no Sorrell, no Josh Stewart. That's massive hits to not only your ball club, but how you manage the ball club and your expectations going day to day. And people can say, well, he's the head coach, he's paid to figure that out. You're right. You're absolutely right. But his first time in this role, he doesn't know how he's going to form his identity as a head coach just yet until he goes through it. If you look at the previous head coaches here, what we know and view them as came with a lot of time in the saddle, right? And so, like, this was part of the risk of hiring a first-time head coach, but I believe in Mike Early, and I especially believe in the relationship that he's got with his players and how much they love playing for him. And so, like, you give this guy time as well. And the expectations that we talked about to start the segment should have been altered whenever Grahovic and Sorrell and Stewart went out. They're not. And Coach Early has said, when you come to Texas A&M, the expectation is Omaha. And there's no excuse around that. That's the expectation. And so he is having to form his personal identity as a head coach in the fire. Right now, when he's injured and his team's not playing at their best. And it's good for him. It's really good for him. And people are going to get upset that I'm saying this. I'm all in with Coach Early. I believe in that guy. He's learning on the job. And yeah, that's a big risk at a place like this with the momentum that this place had. But I think long term, you're going to see him morph and change in how he interacts with the media after the game and how he interacts with us and how he just kind of the show he puts on. And understanding that's part of it.
Let me ask you both this, because it's about that, and it kind of morphs the preseason expectations question. Had we thought this was the lineup going into this season, okay? So Early takes over, you lose some guys to the portal, whatever, people are gone. And this is the roster that he had, the one that's playing right now. Would we be as up in arms now if we would have thought this is the roster starting the season?
Probably, because there's still some of them that can play way better, and we haven't seen them play well.
Yeah.
And some of the issues that they've had, like especially on defense, has not been a lot of tough chances. They've made some errors and misplays on pretty routine balls. So yeah, there would be some elements that you'd still be really frustrated in and want them to be cleaner.
Right.
But I think from an overall roster talent perspective, you'd have to say, yeah, the preseason expectations would be adjusted.
I think Bronny hit the nail on the head there. As it relates to, he that was wonderful about his identity for Mike and what he's searching for as a manager. The ball club itself, the players are still searching for their identity too.
Yep.
Maybe something Mike says or does has to be a catalyst for that. In 2022, it was the speech about Pringles. And the actual line is about Lay's, but it became Pringles. And then 2023, it took a while, right? They didn't find it until late in the year, and it was the laundry cart, the hotel luggage cart.
Yeah.
And then in 2024, they had it from the jump, and it was good, right?
And the reason
But
why
you're
good stuck
for it.
is because they played good.
Yes.
And identity formation, we talked about this last week, identity formation happens with success. right? And like everybody's feeling good. We're going to the ballpark. We're confident. The vibes in the clubhouse are really, really high. And you just start having fun, and you start expressing your team identity through baseball, and it starts coming out, and the fan base sees it and likes it. And then you start building that connection. It can happen. Every team is different. You remember, go back to 2022, even really before the Pringles thing, it was like they went on the road to LSU, and they were really up and down. That was after that tournament in Frisco where they went 1-2. They played really poorly. Yep. And they go on the road. It was their first real road trip in a hostile environment, and they won the series. And from there, it was a completely different ball club.
Just remember that fan outside the box told the team they were number one as the bus drove in. Remember that?
Yeah, that's typical.
That was funny.
LSU behavior.
They kind of rallied around that.
Yeah.
No? And as far as this ball club, you can tell they're searching for it. Now, after Tuesday's loss to UTSA, we come to the ballpark on Wednesday, and a few of them have shaved heads. It's, of course, the brainchild of one Hayden Schott. Jace Lavallette's got a haircut. Caden Kent's got a haircut. Wyatt Hensler's got a haircut. A few of them have haircuts. And I asked Caden Kent about it after the win on Wednesday, and he said, we're trying to change up the mojo. So maybe this year it's shaved heads, and maybe we see a bunch of kids in 203 shaving their heads as the team starts to find a role.
I do want to comment on something, too, with Wyatt Hensler specifically. He's played really well. He and Caden Kent have carried this lineup offensively, and I think you'd have to throw Terrence Keel Jr. in there as well.
Real spark plug guy.
I'm looking at Wyatt Hensler. If there's going to be a leader emerge, it doesn't have to be some veteran, and it doesn't have to be Hayden Schott because he's wearing number 12.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that has to happen organically, too. And if I'm searching through the guys on the field right now, how they're playing, and you just watch the team interactions with each other and how guys interact with the game of baseball and their teammates within the game, I think Wyatt Hensler could be that guy. I love his persona. He's got some real gravitas to him. I think guys are drawn to him, and when he speaks, I believe he's got the respect of the entire clubhouse. It's hard for a starting pitcher, in my opinion, to emerge as that type of leader because they play once a week.
Right.
So I think you need an everyday guy to emerge in that clubhouse as the example setter, but also the vocal leader. And I think Wyatt's disposition, his demeanor, his intelligence, all lend itself for him taking that step forward into a leadership role. And I think even though he's a new guy, I think the entire locker room and the entire team would listen and be receptive for him taking that kind of role.
Nick also mentioned to me in my ear fungal golf last year. So that was
right, all that. But remember, they're playing well.
Yeah.
It's all good vibes. They hit that lull, where'd fungo golf go?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, again, it just takes a little bit, and you just got to keep showing up to the ballpark. You never know what's going to be the moment or the series of moments that gets this team going the right direction.
Got to hit a break here. Right now, we're talking Heritage Films. That's a company that makes documentary films about families, family businesses, family ranches. If you've got an awesome family ranch that you want to kind of tell the story of the origin story, if you've got a family business, you want to talk about how it all came together, or you just want to tell your family's story, right? Your dad, your uncle, your mother, maybe a family event. Let Chance McClain and his team at Heritage Films tell that story. He's got a lot of Aggie clients. Before he started at TexAgs Advertising, he told me that most of his clients were Aggies because we care about our story and our history more than anybody else, and that continues to be the case. You can call him up at 713-893-8341, or you can go to the website, yourheritagefilm.com. That's yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341. All right, we're back here on the Baseball Bunch, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Guys, start us off with the defense. So they moved Gavin Cash to first base. Just talk a little bit, Brauninger, about some of the wrinkles that we saw.
Well, first of all, I think it was a necessity.
Yeah.
And if Blake Benderup or Matt Bergevin, I'm not saying they can't do it, but they haven't done it. They hadn't done it up to that point. And it got to a juncture where you had to make a decision on the future of what the defense was going to look like. Because of that, I think you got more athletic in the outfield. You take Gavin Cash and put him at first base, a position where he's played the vast majority of his collegiate career. That obviously wasn't the ideal scenario in their mind. Again, it goes back to what you thought, what your plan was going into the year, and what's actually happened, how that's changed. And so when Caden Sorrell comes back now, I think Gavin Cash is going to stick at first base for the foreseeable future. Barring injury or something out of the blue happening, I think he is your first baseman going forward, especially with the way he's swinging the bat. But moving him there and then inserting Jamal George into right field, you move Terrence Keel Jr. to left. We'll see what happens once Caden Sorrell comes back. But the outfield defense, has been outside of – Gavin was learning a new position.
Yep.
He made a couple of errors this year, 3 errors, I think, in left field. Then you put him over at first base, and he looks like a natural over there, quite frankly. And I'm sure he's going to kick a few balls here and there at first base. But to watch him work around the bag, his footwork, his flexibility, he made some tough catches on some really tough plays for the infield and made it look pretty routine. And, again, he was comfortable over there. And the old saying goes, you cannot have a good infield defense without a quality first baseman.
Mm-hmm.
They're typically not the best athletes over there, but they save so many errors. And so having infielders be confident in what's going on at first base is a massive deal. So the coaching staff, again, they came into the season with, okay, we've been working with Cash so much in left field. We like where Benderup's at coming into the season at first base. It didn't work out that way. It's forced their hand to make this move. And as a result, you've gotten more athletic in the outfield, and maybe you're going to get better in the infield.
Confidence piece that Bronny touched on, huge. I mean, we saw Caden Kent make a web gem on Wednesday night, made another couple tough plays.
Sawyer Farr made a really tough play on a slow roller.
And I think the other guys on the infield, the other three guys on the dirt, they're probably able to breathe a little bit knowing they've got, a sure guy over at first.
Yeah. All right, we got about 2 minutes. What are we watching out for this weekend? Richard, start us off.
I got to see the defense that played Wednesday night continue to play error-free, clean baseball this weekend against New Mexico State. And I want to see continued success for Gavin Cash at the plate. And I'm ready to see Jace Lavalette break out officially. I haven't been upset with him. I haven't been discouraged by anything he's done at the plate. Just want the results to finally start coming for him, because I think as that happens, the offense is going to be able to take off.
You got to look at offensively. I want to see them continue their progression and their quality of ball striking. And you go back to Sunday against Rice at Dyken Park is where it started, and you saw results off of it. Tuesday against UTSA, I think they had 10 balls at 95 miles an hour or more off the bat. UTSA had 1. But you didn't get the results just because of the game of baseball. And it's hard to get upset at the game kind of hurting you and just being unlucky and unfortunate when you play so poorly outside of that element like they did on Tuesday night. Wednesday night, again, you see good ball striking and some unlucky. Jace had the 2 balls. One was a robbed homer. One was caught up against the wall. He also had the rocket at the first baseman. Jacob Galloway has been really unfortunate. But you have to look offensively right now, especially at the efficiency of the at-bats, the swings, and then what the exit velocities look like. They're in a much better spot this week than they were last in that department.
Other thing I'm excited for, TexAgs takeover in the booth.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Tune in to the radio broadcast.
Today and tomorrow, you and Nick Savage.
That's right. Andrew Monaco on assignment in Baton Rouge, and Will Johnson has got a big softball series over at Davis Diamond. So, Nick, I guess me and you are now the C team. It's okay. We're going.
I'll take it.
I can't wait. Nick's super excited. I'm super excited. It'll be TexAgs takeover in the radio booth.
Super excited for him. Super proud of him.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Exactly. Thanks, guys. All right, when we come back, Ross Dellenger of Yahoo Sports. Right now, we're talking about Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online at CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. They're always stocking up on new vehicles for that wide selection that they have of all the best cars, SUVs, trucks, cars, you name it, midsize. You can take the short drive to save money without any dealer add-ons, plus free oil changes on every new and pre-owned vehicle. Also, they're a business elite dealer, so they can help you get vehicles for all of your small business and commercial needs. Reach out to them, and they're going to help you take care of your business. We're talking about a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Puppies Catering Hotline. That's where Ross Dellenger from Yahoo Sports is. Joining us here on the program. Ross is busy, man, breaking news, traveling all over the place. I think he went to D.C., or I think he might even live in D.C. now that I think about it. Ross, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, I do. I do live in D.C., so it was an easy trip for me to Capitol Hill earlier this week.
How was that?
It was fine. Congressional hearings aren't my favorite thing, and a lot of them don't really produce, a whole lot of real news or movement. And this one, I don't think really did. There was nothing really groundbreaking or new. In fact, all this one did for me was kind of show at how divided that Republicans and Democrats are on various issues, and including a college athlete bill.
And I feel like they're just delaying everything. So I want to get into what happened this week, but also earlier today you had a story break American Athletic Conference presidents voted today to establish a minimum standard of benefits that schools are required to share with athletes, a new rev share era, $10 million over 3 years, becoming the first conference to make such a move. Talk about the importance of it, Ross.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty important. It's pretty significant since they are the first league to basically establish a minimum standard that their schools are going to have to spend in this new revenue share era. And so they have to spend at least $10 million over 3 years. That's a cumulative amount over 3 years, and that includes new scholarships that are added as well in all that. But for the most part, it's rev share. It's how much you're sharing with your athletes under the House settlement. So we could see more leagues kind of set this floor, kind of a floor of you have to at least reach this mark. I think we probably will see a couple more leagues do it. Obviously, in the power conferences, there's no reason to do it, right? The power conferences are going to share well above $10 million annually, let alone 3 years. Most of them will probably reach, I would say, 30, 40, maybe even 50 of the 70 power conference schools will reach the cap of 20 million in the first year and potentially exceed it in other ways. So they don't really need to do it, but it's the group of 6 in the non-football playing conferences that I think you'll see probably FCS conferences institute something like this as well. To me, the most interesting part is, what happens if a school doesn't meet the requirement of sharing $10 million over 3 years? And the answer, as I wrote in the story, is that that school will be under review. Their membership will be under review. So this sort of lays, I think, the groundwork or shows a blueprint of kind of how to cure a conference, you might say, and cut out membership potentially, is create these investment standards.
Ross, you have become the woes, the shams of college sports and college football. You're always on top of every story. When you go cover these events and you're out covering the SEC meeting with the Big Ten or whatever the story may be, does it, I don't know if frustrating is the right word, but I feel like a lot of this information, they could figure it out over a cup of coffee, but yet you go to report on it expecting something, and then, all right, well, we talked about it, we'll meet again in 3 months. It's a lot of hurry up and wait.
It is. There's just a lot of talking going on. A lot of these issues, I think, probably more complicated than how they kind of feel on their face. There's just a lot of legal entanglements, rule changes going on. I mean, all the rev share, the direct rev share to athletes, that whole system's going to change in virtually everything about college athletics, and it touches everything. And so there's a lot of legal issues, I think, that are being talked about, and those things just take time. And I think we'll have probably in the next 3 to 6 months, probably by the time football season rolls around, we'll have a lot more answers on the details of the settlement, whether it's going to be approved or not, how schools are going to handle it, what the SEC Big Ten are going to do from the CFP format, and how that's going to look going forward. So we're going to get some answers here hopefully soon.
So you think, the SEC going to 9 games, we'll know that maybe by the time football season rolls around, their future there?
Yeah. I think probably by the spring meetings in May, the SEC spring meetings, that we will probably learn a lot there. The vote might be there, might be just after, or perhaps just before even. So I think probably by July 1, by media days, we'll know if the SEC is moving to a 9th game starting in 2026. And as I wrote about 3 weeks ago, it does seem to be all trending that direction. All these things are kind of related. And again, they're all tethered together, and they're all kind of linked to the revenue share deal with athletes. Everybody needs money to share, right, with athletes. And so the way they're doing that is generating other revenues. And I think one of the ways you generate revenue is, for instance, an extra SEC game. You get more money probably from ESPN. You get more money from season ticket sales, all that stuff. And then that allows you to potentially play a scheduling agreement with the Big Ten because they're at 9 games right now. So in order to get that done, both have to be at nine conference games, I think, for as far as the fairness kind of aspect. So you create these big matchups with the Big Ten, and that creates more revenue in more kind of TV tonnage for the TV networks. And then again, linked to all this is also the CFP. And if you're assured, guaranteed access, multiple guaranteed access spots into the CFP, it allows you to do all this stuff because it allows you to lose more games in the regular season, but still get access to the college football playoff.
Ross, am I right? Both the SEC and Big Ten, they're the ones pushing for 14 teams as opposed to the 16 to get that first round bye, or am I kind of interpreting it incorrectly?
Well, I think the main format that's been discussed within the leagues that was discussed in New Orleans a couple of weeks ago when the ADs jointly met is a 14-team bracket that has 4 automatic qualifiers for each, the Big Ten and SEC, 2 for the ACC and Big 12 each, 1 for the best group of 5 champion, and then there's 1 at large, probably intended for Notre Dame if they finish high enough in the rankings. So that's the one that's being discussed the most. But the CFP leaders did discuss, a 16-team bracket and what that might look like. They've discussed staying at 12 as well. So I think everything is kind of on the table. The main one that's being, I think, internally with the Big Ten especially, but also the SEC is involved in the discussions, is that 14-team one with multiple AQs for a single conference.
Ross, we got about a minute and a half left. This is probably not a fair question to ask, but do you think like a year from now, we're having those same conversations about the guardrails, about NIL and this and that, and because it feels like we're getting closer to that, but I still don't know.
The NIL conversation is probably going to continue for a while because in addition to the cap that schools can share revenue, they can share up to $20.5 million in year one. You can go above the cap with real NIL deals, but those deals have to make it through a new enforcement entity, a new clearinghouse. And the clearinghouse is going to approve or reject deals based on a fair market value analysis. And that's going to be the subject of a lot of discussion and consternation going forward.
Yeah. Well, hey, Ross, great stuff. Huge fan of your reporting, as always. Thanks for being so accommodating, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Ross Dellenger, Yahoo Sports, does excellent work. Really appreciate his time. All right, so here's the plan, guys. Over the next hour on TexAgs Live, Billy Liucci will join us. We got a lot to get into with Billy. I do want to cover some of the stuff that we talked about with Ross Dellenger. We'll have that. We will talk about the basketball team going to Baton Rouge and hoping to secure a 3 seed. If all the reports are correct and all the predictions and the bracket matrix is right, what does A&M need to do to keep that 3 seed? Obviously, it starts with beating LSU and hopefully a win in the SEC tournament. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Christian Kirk to the Texans. We'll look at some SEC storylines that ESPN had out there. And as we've been mentioning all show long, baseball getting back on track. The baseball bunch talked about, that starting rotation still being so elite. And when you have elite pitching, just getting the offense on track. It doesn't have to be that record-breaking offense that we thought A&M was going to have this year. We had this thought, and we held on to that thought because of the anger in our hearts after what happened at the end of the season with the loss of Tennessee, the coach, the whole thing, right? So, but if the offense can be this new look offense, right, without some of the names that we've seen, and hopefully Caden Sorrell comes back at some point, but without Caden, without Gavin, and then you got the 3 freshmen in the lineup and the moving parts. If the offense can get semi on track, right, not record-breaking on track, what does that do for what we've seen here in these first few games, first 12 games of the year? And what does it look like the rest of the way? So we'll get into that with Billy. We'll talk about Christian Kirk. We'll talk basketball. We'll talk about some of the changes coming in college football. And hopefully here in the next 2 to 3, 4 months, we will have a little bit of resolution. All that and much, much more. You're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 3, straight up next. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 3 of the program. Should have Billy here in studio or on the phone in the next few minutes. Already laid out quite a bit of talking points we're going to get into here this hour, so looking forward to getting Billy on the program. Before that, we'll go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Zachary Reese made his debut in the 8 o'clock hour. He's got some stuff for us to continue the chatter.
Yeah. No, so FanDuel released their projected team football wins for the 2025 season. So just name a couple teams. They have A&M projected at 7.5 wins. Ole Miss is projected to have 8.5 wins. Tennessee with 9.5. Texas with 9.5 as well.
Tennessee and Texas are both at 9.5.
Yes, sir, 9.5.
I haven't really looked at Tennessee's record. I know that they love Nico.
No, yeah. I'm a big fan of Nico myself. I like the way he plays. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of on the football front. And
let me chew on that for a second.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at Tennessee's schedule because I guess I haven't done enough prep on Tennessee. Let's see. They've got their first SEC. Their first SEC game is Mississippi State. They've got home game against Arkansas. They go to Alabama. They got Kentucky. They got Oklahoma. I can see that.
Yeah.
They got Vandy on their schedule. They got Florida on their schedule. Florida, they have to go to. I can see that. It's not the hardest schedule. Yeah.
Playing in Gainesville could be pretty tough, especially with DJ Lagway returning for sophomore year. It's going to be a good game.
But you know what?
What?
A&M went there last year and beat that.
We got the win.
Yeah.
We got the win. Marcel Reed.
What else do you have for us?
So a little bit of SEC softball news. So 13 of the 15 SEC softball teams are actually ranked in the top 25. The top 5 are actually all SEC teams. OU is number 1. You got Texas at 2, Florida at 3, A&M at 4, and LSU at 5.
Florida and A&M played this weekend.
Yes, sir. They
right
did.
Here.
Yes, sir. In College Station, Davis Diamond. Make sure y'all pack it out. And then also just kind of round out the rankings for softball. Tennessee's at 8. You got Arkansas and South Carolina, who are actually tied for 10th in the rankings. And then Georgia at 14. You got Auburn at 17. And then Alabama and Ole Miss, 21-22. And then Missouri and Kentucky also, they're not in the top 25 yet, but they both receive votes for the voting poll as well.
If I can jump in here, David, with that.
And then,
hold on. Zach, go ahead, Nick.
If you look at that schedule, the only SEC series as of right now that A&M has versus an unranked opponent is Missouri. So everyone they play is ranked on the road, at home, doesn't matter. It's a crazy schedule to navigate for Tricia Ford.
3-17, 21,
14, 5, and 10, and 8.
Good gosh. Wow. All right, Zach, what else?
No, yeah. And then kind of on the basketball front, kind of outside of the actual sport, but Wade Taylor, he was named to the community service team for men's basketball in the SEC. So Wade Taylor, he's known for founding the Wade Taylor Foundation, in which he founded the nonprofit organization. It's to empower youth programs. They're focused kind of on mental health, leadership, development, and financial literacy. So just kind of on that outside the community service front from Wade Taylor, really good to see from him.
Yep, he's such a good dude and a great heart. I did want to talk a little bit about. Well, let's go to the hotline, Bumpy's Catering Hotline. That's where Billy Liucci is. Billy, good morning, buddy.
Good morning, David. Good morning.
Wow, you're in a good mood. I'm happy to hear your voice like this.
I left my keys in the restaurant, had to go back and get them. I spilled coffee because of you all over my hand. But since you caused it, we could probably I'll give you half of my earnings from the lawsuit. Was it Kramer that did that? Kramer's coffee place?
Cosmo Kramer.
Yeah.
So how's it my fault that you spilled coffee? I'm confused about. Did I say something that was ridiculous, or because we called you?
I was rushing to get to your radio show.
I consider it more your radio show that you've entrusted me to speak on.
Almost drove off with the coffee on the hood of my car. That was
that's happened to me before. Hey, Baton Rouge this weekend. I forget. I don't know if we actually spoke that much about the Auburn victory and just the trajectory afterwards. So just kind of how it resets. not only expectations but vibes. Let's talk about LSU, considering what just happened against Auburn a couple nights ago.
You know what would be awesome?
What would be awesome?
If there was no delay and we weren't cutting each other off, and if I could have finished my story about how I drove out of the restaurant with the back hatch of my vehicle open down the street. But
no, I want to hear that story. How does that happen?
That was the story. I got a couple texts from people inside saying, "Hey, your back hatch is open." But I think we should talk about LSU and A&M and a big basketball game on Saturday. Maybe recap the interview with Coach Elko. Maybe talk a little off-season football. I think we should do that after an early break so we can go along on the next one.
You know what? I like the way you operate, Billy. I'm going to take a break. I'm actually going to talk about Costa Vida while you drive your way here and hopefully don't spill anything else on your journey here. How about we do that? Well, just so you're aware, there are people waiting for you, so it'll take you like 9 minutes to get to the studio. Bronny's there, Zane. They're all set up, camping, ready for you to walk in. You know what he reminds me of, Billy, is those autograph seekers that are just waiting by the hotel when an athlete shows up and they just run. They got like 32 things for them to sign. That's what Bronny does. Yep. Oh my, Bobby, he's part of my community. He's part of the Cuban community. I'll see you here in studio in a second. Yeah, bye. Billy Liucci on the Buppies Catering Hotline. Costa Vida time. I gotta reach out to Holly. Holly, hey, let's chat. The food there is fantastic. If you haven't been to Costa Vida recently, or if it's been too long, you gotta go back. Because here's one thing. You know when they say you have one chip, you have to have another. You just can't have one chip, right? And they have great chips there, by the way. It's like Costa Vida. You go there, you can't just go once. You go back a second time, or go back a third time. My boys love getting the quesadillas. They're like, Dad, we're right down the street from our house. Dad, let's go to Costa Vida and get some quesadillas. They love it. They got the tortilla soup that's fantastic. They got so many different entrees. If you like fresh Mex done the right way, it's Costa Vida. That's the option you have, right? It's Baja-inspired Mexican restaurant where every ingredient matters. And Holly being a great Aggie and just proud owner and operator, she does it all there. You'll love it. You can go for breakfast, get your breakfast tacos. You go for lunch. If you want to go light, you want to go heavy, they got it all. They'll do it right in front of you, and it's quick and easy, and it's convenient, and it is delicious. It is Costa Vida, Aggie owned and operated, 4501 Mills Park Circle in South College Station. Again, 4501 Mills Park Circle in College Station is Costa Vida. And we're back on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. A lot to get into with Billy, but I did want to. I just read this, Billy. You can cut me off at any point if it feels better.
I mean, it doesn't make me feel better.
Stephen A. Smith was confronted last night by LeBron James. But the part that I liked more than anything was that Stephen A. Smith was there with Larry David at a Lakers game. If you guys have watched Curb Your Enthusiasm.
That's like an episode of the show.
It's 1,000% like an episode of the show.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And
that's really funny.
And if you watch Curb, season 2 or 3, he trips Shaq sitting front row. And he's sitting front row with Stephen A. Smith. So I don't know. Like for a big Curb guy, that's amazing.
That's pretty funny. And in the episode you could see it where like Larry David would be some big LeBron hater.
Yeah.
But then in the heat of the argument, he would like say something like that LeBron liked. Like kind of almost getting his back, and they become friends. And he goes to like coffee with him the next day and or a week later, and he can't tell Stephen A. And then he's like been invited back to a Lakers game courtside, and he can't tell Stephen A.
I can see it.
You could just go from there. I've always been of the opinion that I should be a sitcom writer, but now you guys have witnessed my mastery of the art.
I'd also like our friendship to go to a new level.
Mine and yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is tell me if you. I told OB.
I'm not good with these. Take it to the next step.
This one you might like.
Okay.
I was telling OB yesterday.
We need some
paper towels. Thanks.
No, we need paper towels. So can you get
it's right here? We got it.
Oh, you just didn't want to come on air.
Yeah.
Come on, Zach. Introduce yourself to the audience. Thank you. So Zach, the Zach attack.
I think this would be a really good bonding and like management kind of meeting that we should have.
Okay, on air.
No. We can do this off air.
Oh, okay.
I think we should go to South Bend the week before the A&M Notre Dame game.
Okay.
For Zach Bryan and Shane Gillis performing at Notre Dame Stadium.
Zach Bryan and Shane Gillis?
Yes, on the same night.
It's a weird combo.
It's the best combo ever. I think we should go to that just to investigate. Your buddies with him.
That's your buddy. He came on the show and you were on.
He knows you and does not know me. He just came in because I assaulted him. Get in here. All right.
That was one of my favorite things. He was like, we came in, here, come check out the studio. Y'all are doing the show. And he kind of, Nuño waves him on. And
I was shocked.
Comes in, he starts saying that Aggies and Notre Dame fans are both too nice.
Yeah.
They were too nice to him, which is probably true. Probably true. I still want us to boo instead of hiss. That is my one. There's two. There's a yell or something they're doing now during basketball games that I'm very opposed to. I'm of the big belief, like if you're on like a nice run and the other team calls a timeout or they get bailed out by a TV timeout, that place should be just raucous and rocking through the entire timeout. I don't want to see some kid crawling around trying to, find blindfolded, trying to find like to win a free month of burritos. Like I'm sorry, I just feel like that kills the vibe.
Yeah.
Like if I don't want to see it. I want that place, like I want Catnip.
Play the jams.
Formerly of the TexAgs fame, play all the hits. Go crazy.
Yeah.
Let everybody start going nuts. Let those students go crazy. They can sustain it for a 2 to 3 minute timeout. I don't want someone crawling on the floor looking for a coupon.
I agree.
Now that's number one. And what was number two? Where was I going with that?
You want music and a certain yell that you didn't want.
Oh no, it was the yell. The other thing was, gosh, what was it? It was in football game. You ruined it. You took me off task.
I didn't say a word. I just looked at you. I waited for the delay.
So apparently this basketball thing is my actual number one that we don't want.
Yep. So can I ask you about basketball?
The other one is the hissing. We don't. I would rather us boo. I think booing is more intimidating. I want officials intimidated, being ushered into the exits of football and basketball games because they are so vehemently booed that they irrationally fear for their safety. I don't think there should be anything that threatens their safety. I don't think you should throw water bottles onto the field ever. I don't. It's insane. What kind of fan base would ever do something like that? But I do think you should boo so aggressively and so consistently, like when Courtney Davis got called for the fumble instead of the touchdown against Clemson with the pylon. That booing should have never stopped. They should have had to have grabbed those refs and run them through the tunnel where they're like this, but for no reason, but because the booing was so bad and so intense that they thought they were going to be waterboarded.
I like the way you operate,
The hissing does nothing to create an intimidating environment. And when you got 100,000, you got 30,000 students, there could be some really, really loud booing. I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone in the department, and we want to see A&M be like the nice, welcoming. I completely agree. Be nice and welcoming to opposing fans. I do not subscribe to the fans should be intimidated in the opposing stadium.
No.
I know that sounds tough. It's a real tough guy thing. Like, you come in here, come into Death Valley, you might get your ass kicked. You might get hit with a bottle. I don't like that. People's wives, their kids, their moms go to these games. And by the way, none of you are that tough. I've been all over the SEC. It's not, most fan bases are actually nice. It's the drunk people in every fan base that create the problems. But I just want the place to be, I want boos, not hisses. I'm sorry. I love the sit-down bus driver. I think that's unique and really cool. I think it makes the coaches probably go, what the hell did they just say? Like, what's that? Rick Barnes knows it.
Yeah.
But the other ones are probably like, what? Bus driver? Like, what? I like that one. I do not like the hissing. I hate the hissing. Sorry, old Ags.
Eartha Kitt, like Catwoman hisses, not,
Eartha Kitt.
I went old school on you.
She is so old.
She's like 90. All right, let's, this LSU game, man, like, you want to keep those good vibes going after, like, it doesn't fix everything, but you win this game on the road against a team that you should beat on the road. I know not every SEC game is hard. I get all that. This game you got to win on the road. It sets you up for hopefully a win in Nashville, and then whatever happens after that, great.
They've done very well in Nashville. Nothing is going to, quote, set you up for a win in Nashville. Because when you look at the brackets, I guess the only thing that would set you up for a win, but even then, like, I don't think you'd have to take like LSU or South Carolina to knock off somebody in an upset to set you up for a win. But South Carolina has recently, in the last couple of weeks, beaten Texas and Arkansas.
Right.
They held Arkansas to like 12 or 14 points in the first half. Like, you're not set up for a win against South Carolina. You're just not right now. And LSU, I think that would be a weird situation if the Aggies played them back to back. But those are the only two that even possibles that would
set you up for a win.
Set you up for a win.
I see what you're saying.
You look at the teams they might play in that first round. Georgia gave A&M a tough fight here. They're playing much better basketball of late. I mean, hell, they just beat Florida. They beat Texas on the road. Texas, you split with. Oklahoma, was running you out of their gym until the terrific comeback in Norman, and then they gave you a hard time here. Arkansas, you know how talented they are under Cal, and that was a hard-fought game at home. Those are the type teams you're going to play in that second round, and what do they all have in common? They're all also fighting for spots in the tournament. So your first game is going to be a very tough one, which makes beating LSU all the more important because you don't want to go to Nashville with the risk of coming out of that losing 6 out of 7, including what would be, in my opinion, your first bad loss since UCF. And even that was a true road game, and that was quite literally the first game of the season. This would be the only loss in SEC play that is an actual blemish on your resume. It would be the only one, right? I mean, Vandy at home, Auburn, Tennessee, Kentucky. Vandy at home, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, at Mississippi State, Texas on the road. There's nothing on their resume in conference play, and there's only one in all of non-conference that you would consider like a blemish.
Right.
So that's what you're trying to avoid Saturday in Baton Rouge against a team that I think does play a lot better at home. I think they're uber athletic. I don't put much stock into how the game went here last time. I think LSU was either up by a couple or down by a couple at halftime. Yeah. I heard y'all talking about it earlier, and it's so true. Like, that was a game where Wade had just come, it was his first game back, and it showed. And it wasn't, they weren't, that was I think one of their most choppy games they played all season in SEC play. So, look, you've just set yourself up in a great position to claw back and get that 3 seed and maintain it. And I think it's a lead pipe lock if you beat LSU and win one tournament game. And it's not scientific at all. I'm just saying if you beat LSU, you beat one of these teams fighting that's either going to be in the tournament or fighting for a tournament spot. And then if you lose to one of the top 4 seeds, that's just another game against a potential number 1 seed that you add to your resume. So I think if they could get there, that would be plenty. If they went 1-1 in the SEC tournament, and you want more, I don't know if I want them to play 4 games in 4 days, but you want more than a 1-1. You'd love to go knock off a Tennessee and Auburn or an Alabama or Florida, to add that. Hell, you might be playing in the semis at that point for a shot at a 2. That's reality. But I wouldn't want to see them play 4 in 4 days. I feel like the Aggies benefited last year when they played Nebraska and even U of H by not having to go 4 and 4, which they almost had to do. They were up on Florida. As Florida's making that comeback, you're in that weird spot as a fan, and you're going, and even as an analyst, you're trying to go, does it really help them to play another 40-minute war against Auburn on Sunday? My answer was, yeah, I want to do it. If you're going to get this close, I want to see them hold up a trophy. Yeah. They've never won the SEC tournament trophy. I don't know how long it had been since they never won a Big 12 one. I think it was a Southwest Conference one, like back when I was in college, maybe, under like Tony Baroni. So I'd like to see that. But in my mind, I'm like, I don't really want to see them play 4 games up there. That's a lot. And some of these guys I think could use a rest. But that's not how Buzz is going to coach it. He's going there to win. That's why they went finals, semifinals the last 3 years. And again, if you make that kind of run, the teams you have to go through to get there, even to get to a final, you're probably back on that low 2 line, which is a big freaking deal. It's a huge deal for that first round game and even for that second. So it all matters. But I think this LSU game is the big one because you want to go into that thing with a couple wins in a row, handle your business on the road in Baton Rouge. I know it's LSU, but it's just another, when you put up road record, it's another win on there. And I just think it's important for momentum. And I want to see a team go down there, play against a team with nothing to lose, which makes LSU dangerous. They're athletic and nothing to lose, and it's on the road. Go down there and handle business where we go, okay, this is that Auburn game completely refocused them, and they're eyeing the task at hand. But the reality is, just win it. Just win it.
All right, we'll do this. We'll hit a break.
By the way, if they win, how many people raise your hand if you had them going 11-7 in the SEC this year? And I'm talking about once you realize how good the league was.
I think I had them 10. I think I had them 10-8. Trying to remember back.
I actually think I did too. I think I was on that 10. Just when you start to see how good even as you saw how good A&M was, like, man, 11-7 was that close to getting you a 4 seed. 10-6 is, or 12-6 is getting you a top 4 seed out of 16. There's some really good teams in the conference that have lost 6, 7, 8 games this year.
When we come back, a little football talk?
Yeah.
Let's do a little football. You talked to Coach Elko. We talked to Trev yesterday, so we got a lot to get into. Did you or someone you know graduate from A&M within the last 12 years, and are you leading by example in business and in service? If that is the case, the Association of Former Students would like to invite you to nominate yourself or someone that you know for the 12 Under 12 Award. Each year, the association recognizes a dozen Aggies who have graduated within the last 12 years for their business accomplishments, military service, philanthropic efforts, and outstanding representation of Texas A&M's core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and of course, selfless service. Previous year honorees have included leaders in business and higher education, architects, petroleum engineers, nonprofit execs, physicians, veterans, and members of the U.S. Armed Forces. 2025 nominations close on Saturday, March the 15th. You've got a little bit more than a week, so be sure to submit a nomination soon. To learn more about the recognition, submit a nomination, visit tx.ag/12under12 nominations. I don't know. Hey, everybody. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, 10:35 here on the clock. Billy, should we do some football talk here?
Brony is way too loud.
I do hear him
Tell
now.
him to dial it down about 4 to 6 notches. Okay, sorry. Send. I have a buddy who, when he sends text, he voice texts, like in restaurants. Tell him to dial it down 4 to 6 notches. And it's always like business. Tell them to buy it, but sell, and it's like, can you not just text at the lunch table, at the dinner table? Do you have to do the voice text? And everybody that thinks they're sending voice, they think they have to talk louder
right.
for it to correctly record.
It'll hear
voice.
you.
Yeah.
I also don't like when people have full conversations loud. I think there's an appropriate level of a conversation. Yeah. Like when I'm at the gym, sometimes I'm on my AirPods and I talk like this. So like they can hear me, but I don't need the guy working out next to me.
My biggest issue at the gym is just not singing out loud when I'm on my AirPods and forgetting, not realizing how loud I am.
You post your videos of yourself singing in the car. I don't know why it's a big deal.
I've posted like one.
Is it only one?
By myself, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like 19.
It was one like 19 years ago. Oh. But I will do more if you would like. I mean, that would be...
I'll have you on again.
He's loud. You're coming up with outlandish ideas for me.
No. I came up for an idea for myself, and you followed up with, I might try that.
He's doing a detox cleanse.
Not yet.
Dr. Hyman.
Dr. Mark Hyman, the leading expert in gut health.
Dr. Hyman.
He's actually an MD. He's not Mike Israel.
I'm following Dr. Hyman of the internet.
He's famous.
Dr. Hyman, he of internet fame.
He's a New York Times best-selling author / doctor, functional medicine, Billy, because not everything needs to be treated
I like that.
With medication.
I like that, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
Nuño's like telling me, I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. And he says, well, I could give you the book when I'm done. I'm not going to read a book about a diet. Just tell me what you did and write it down. I can text it to me. You can do the out loud text and it's done.
I got it.
Read a whole book.
I got it for you.
Drink liquids for a week.
No, it's you get to eat food. Single ingredient foods. Can you just do that as we morph into this 10-day detox for you? Single ingredient foods.
I wouldn't even know where to be. What is that? Raw chicken breast?
No, you can cook it. You can put salt on it. But like chicken breast.
You know what? I'm going to be more like
vegetables.
I'm going to be more like Matthew Dawson, who just came in here and told us, Matt. So I asked him, "What are your dimensions?" If you were like a football player, you were like a athlete, and you're listed on a team. Okay, what are you? He said 5'5", 145.
I don't think he wanted people to know that.
No, I think he did. He told us 5'5", 145. So just a flat out
beast.
Giant. I was going to say Lilliputian. What are those from? The Lilliputians. Gulliver's Travels. 5'5", 145. He has not one, but 2 pie eating contests.
Yeah.
To the point that they've banned him. He can't go back.
Would you like to know how I've done it?
He's won 2 pie eating contests. I don't even know how you get involved in a pie eating contest. I don't even want to know.
I have entered 2 chicken wing eating contests. Finished first and second. Facts.
I'll give you credit because those are I'm sure are buffalo wings.
Buffalo wings, yeah. With the great Ken Hoffman, my dear friend who passed away last year. He entered me in a couple of them. And my friend Sean Cavalinasian, your good buddy, Sean Pendergrass, won a kolache eating contest.
That tracks.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we talk some football now?
The biggest problem for everyone is that now I know I have. Now I know that we always can just go extra. So maybe complain. I'll go, well, we talked about random crap for 10 minutes. We also went 12 minutes extra.
But now my move is I got to tell you I have a meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I would love to. I got a meeting at 11:15. Who's your meeting with? My office?
Brandon. You're like, Brandon, staff meeting.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm meeting with each intern, talking, laying out a plan for the future. Let's lay out a plan for A&M's future.
Okay.
In the first segment, Zachary Reese, who made his debut today. You say hi to Billy already? You did?
We did. The
okay.
Zach attack.
Just making sure.
Zachariah.
He says FanDuel's got A&M's win total at 7.5. Okay,
Mhm.
it had Tennessee at 9.5, which I didn't think it. And then I went through their schedule, like I could see that. Back to them. For that to happen, I mean, for it to be better than the 7.5 that they have, a lot of the things you talked to Coach Elko about has to materialize. The offense obviously has to take that big step forward. The defense, which you talked to him about, some of his poignant comments after the loss at the Las Vegas Bowl and putting his imprint on it. And he and Coach Bateman, he said, they're on the right path. Let's kind of start with that.
First of all, I think they'll get that. I think that's an appropriate, non-offensive number. I think A&M. Look, if you're picking Texas A&M football right now, you're picking 8-4. That's a safe record to land on every year. There's a misconception out there that I pick A&M to go like 11-1 every year. I'm typically in that 9-3 range until proven. And there's been a couple of years where I picked 10-2. That's when the rest of the country picked them in the top 5.
Yeah.
How many times have I said I don't think they should be ranked 6? I think they should be ranked like between 10 and 12.
Yeah.
It's happened multiple times. And it's because it's show me before I fully jump in. But I thought last year's schedule was going to be really conducive to what I kept saying was I thought they were going to be 9-2 entering the Texas game. Then thought home field, they could get Texas at home. As the season went on, they lose a Le'Veon Moss. They go from Connor to an inexperienced Marcel and went through the growing pains of that, had to go through Connor's struggles. It was just slightly off. But again, I think I went. The problem is they baited me on Twitter to get to 10-2, I think, right before the season. But here we talk 9-3 is where I usually land. But right now, if you're picking A&M, and if over the last however many years, if you're trying to predict A&M's record, the safest play to go is 8-4. That is not what Mike Elko wants or expects. That's not what those players want or expect. And I certainly don't think that's this team's ceiling. But to set the over/under at 7-5, I think, or at 7.5 is a good over/under. It's a tougher schedule this year, and the Aggies have question marks. But they also return a ton of experience. They return a quarterback that's going from year 0.5 as a starter to having a whole offseason as the guy and going into the season with a ton of experience under his belt now because he played in pretty much, every SEC game but one, right? Because he went into LSU in the second half and really was a catalyst to them winning that game. So he played a key role.
I don't think he played in Mississippi State or LSU.
Mississippi State, you're right. Missouri, then it was Mississippi State, then it was LSU. You're right. So he played in 6 of 8 SEC games, either started or finished 6 of 8 SEC games, and also a bowl game. Yep. People talk about some of those losses, but again, like I mentioned to Coach Elko, he also led the A&M down the field for go-ahead touchdowns in the closing minutes against both Auburn on the road and USC in the bowl game. This is a emerging. I think he's going to be a vastly improved quarterback this year, and that has to happen for A&M to get above that number. But the Aggies return a lot, and I said something about it yesterday, and I knew it was. You know how I am. I don't care that it's going to get misconstrued. I'm going to say what I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be wrong. You don't want to get, have the receipt queen come get you at the end. You want to be right and don't have people do a whole festival celebration when you're wrong, but you're going to keep saying it. And what I said yesterday, I absolutely meant. It was, you can return a ton of guys, and it doesn't matter if they're coming off a bad football team. I mean, sometimes it's not better than the alternative, especially in the days of the portal. But you can't tell me that teams like Georgia and Texas are better off losing a ton of guys to the NFL. Now, if you wanted to tell me, hey, that will hurt Texas and Georgia less than it will South Carolina, who sent 11, I would say you're right. You're absolutely right. Georgia and Texas have a much better chance to withstand said losses. They will still be really good, and it might not even affect them at all.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, I thought they lost too much at receiver in Whittington, A.D. Mitchell, and who was the third? Oh, Xavier Worthy. I thought they lost too much to replace, and Matthew Golden is the one that really saved the day. I don't think Bond was great.
Right.
I liked the Bolden from Washington State. He wasn't like he wasn't a difference maker in their football team. He was a good quality. I mean, he made difference making plays. Everybody does over the course of a season, but that I didn't think they could replace Jatavian Sanders as well as they did, but Gunnar Helm stepped up. So programs like Texas and Georgia, yes, they can do that, but you're lying to yourself if you think that's a guarantee that they can do that and still go to the Final Four, that they can do that like if you're Georgia and still win a national title. That's what happened to Georgia this year. Georgia was at the top of college football. They weren't this year. They got their asses kicked by Ole Miss. They lost to a Bama team that was not anything close to the normal Bama teams. And then they went in the bowl game and they had an injury to quarterback against Texas in that SEC title game, and Notre Dame throttled them. So that's because of losses. They lost too much in 1 year to recover and keep it going at the same rate. If you lose too much, even the best programs can take a small step back. That's what I was saying on that front. Those of you that want to comment, you know that is correct. It doesn't mean you have to. It's you would much rather be returning more guys. Now take A&M, for example, to get past 7.5 wins and really to improve and go win 9 regular season games against a tough schedule. To be in the SEC title conversation again when you go to Austin to play Texas, like you were this year when Texas came here. In other words, to have a hope at that in the last game, to have a playoff hope at the end. To do that, I think this team, it is a great thing that they're returning a bunch of guys. Here's why. That was not a bad football team last season. That was a football team that was up and down in a season of a first year of a head coach with a change at quarterback, essentially midseason change at quarterback, and a first year in a system. There were ups and downs and a brutal injury, which everyone suffers injuries. That one I thought really affected A&M's style of play, meaning Le'Veon Moss. And you didn't have Reuben at the time either. Right. Remember that. With that said, David, like you return an entire O-line plus off of offensive line, it was pretty good. You return a quarterback that showed flashes of being really dynamic and potentially special. You return a really productive running back stable, including a guy that was training to be a first-team All-SEC. And I think you've strengthened yourself at receiver and at tight end. That's TBD. That's what I think. The question would be defensively, where you lost the most was at your best position. So that's not good. When we come back from the break, I want to talk specifically about that defensive line and about what Mike Elko said in the secondary, because to me, that's the key if A&M takes the next step. And I'm not talking about 8-4. I'm talking about 9-3 or better.
I'm really impressed with you there.
Thank you.
You know what I'm impressed about?
Yeah,
I didn't even have to give you this.
I saw it.
I didn't. But that's it. Just now, I'm going to expect it. So good
we're
job.
at a point where I sense your nervous energy rising. You're very calm on the surface. You're like a duck, and I could see the.
I didn't do that. Not one time.
I could see the duck feet like doing this. See, and I go, okay, it's time to go to a break.
Yeah. Well, typically that's correct, but I didn't give you anything. I was very calm. You can go back and rewind it. Okay.
I knew you were calm. I just sensed it.
We'll hit a break. We'll have more with Billy, and then we'll continue after the show on TexAgs.com. We'll see you in a bit. let's hear. We're coming back. Hey, everybody, we're already on the air. TexAgs Live.
It's a Wednesday.
Theo Vaughn, we're just talking about comedians and stuff. So we love Theo Vaughn. Rita, shout out.
March 26th.
Okay. After all that amazing break, I forgot where we're talking about the defense. So you wanted to talk about the defense. And I did also want to say, you talked about Texas and Georgia when they lose guys. But if you look at A&M's losses last year, in flipping the script to where the home venue is going to be, Texas does have questions. Missouri absolutely has questions. South Carolina's got to have some questions on defense. And what's the other one I'm thinking of here? They all have question marks. LSU, I think they have questions. I know that going to Baton Rouge is different. But
And don't get me wrong about Texas. I think they should be ranked preseason.
Top 5.
Top 5.
Yeah.
I think they return enough. I mean, hell, they return for sure 2 guys that are probably going to be on everybody's first-team All-American list on defense in Hill and Simmons. And that's not all they've got over there. And then Taft, I don't know, how do you say it? Taft, Michael Taft? He should probably be up there. I don't think he should be a first-team All-American, but I think if you're going first, second, third, I could see him being like a third-team All-American. They have All-American candidates at D-line, linebacker, and in the secondary. Baxter's coming back in that backfield. They've got and obviously Arch Manning. They should have a running back stable. I have questions about their offensive line. I will again wonder at receiver, like until proven otherwise, which were proven otherwise last year. But their questions are more of like, can they get back to the national semifinal? Can they get back to Atlanta? But they're going to be a top 5, top 10 at worst team that A&M's going in there to play, if not higher than that. So that we know. We know that beating LSU is going to be exponentially tougher in Death Valley than it was here. I'm not completely buying what they're trying to sell me in Baton Rouge right now, which is that they're going to take this huge jump because of what they did in the portal. I'm not completely buying Garrett Nussmeier, who sometimes looks spectacular, and that what we saw over here at Kyle Field was not the only time he looked rough.
Well, he looked great and rough in the same game.
Yeah, and that's the Nuss experience, I believe. And he lost some terrific receivers. I know they added Nick Anderson, who was a guy that A&M really wanted. They did very well in the portal, but you just don't know how that plays out in terms of on the field. But what I do know is winning in Death Valley, it's been impossible for Texas A&M since they joined the SEC. In fact, I was in college the last time A&M won in Death
1994.
Valley. Leland McElroy. So LSU, that game will be twice as tough as it was last year. The Texas game will be at a minimum as tough, even if they're a little bit less, which is far from a guarantee. It's in Austin versus having Kyle Field behind you. I think the South Carolina is a game that here are games A&M needs to win. Auburn's going to be a lot better next year, I believe, unless Jackson Arnold just sucks, which he might. But if he's closer to what we thought he was than he was in Norman, they're going to be a problem offensively. But you need to beat Auburn at home, and you need to beat South Carolina at home, and Lenora Sellers is a problem. But they did lose a lot on defense. They bring back some guys too, but they lost a ton. That's why you're not seeing them nearly as high to start as they seem to finish. You need to beat the South Carolina Gamecocks, coached by Shane Beamer, at home at Kyle.
Yep, agree.
You do.
Florida?
And Florida, you need to beat at home, and that should be a vastly improved team if Derek Lagway is playing and healthy. I do think there's some element where there was enough on the injury side last year, and there's, they're going to, I think I read where they're limiting his throwing this spring. Like, that's people in Gainesville, like, is there something wrong with the shoulder? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But let's just assume, I think you have to fairly assume that every starting quarterback is going to stay healthy, right?
Yeah.
Florida should be a lot better. But those games are at home. Should win those games. LSU on the road gets a lot tougher.
Missouri on the road?
Missouri on the road, but I think Missouri loses a ton.
Agreed.
I think that's a game A&M needs to go up and win. So, yeah, I think their record, they have a real chance to bump that up to 9-3. What are the SEC games I did not talk about? Mississippi State at Kyle Field.
Got to win that one.
They should make a big jump in Starkville in year 211. You still need to win that game at home.
I'm worried about going to Arkansas.
That's the one that counters some of this.
Yep.
Like, if I could have my pick, I would flip Mississippi State and put that one back in Starkville, and I would take Arkansas to Kyle Field so I could feel a lot better about it. That is going to be a tough place to play. They brought back their quarterback. That was kind of unexpected. They got an extra year out of him. He's dangerous. Arkansas will be a tough play. I don't even know how much they lose off defense. I know they lost some key guys.
That game's always tight.
Most notably Landon Jackson. But when you think of how tough those games have been at a neutral site for A&M, and now you're going to send them into that environment, that's probably the biggest, let's just call it upset alert that I'm circling on that schedule. And unfortunately, last year it was at South Carolina. Before we knew that they were going to be pretty damn good last year, that was the one that I absolutely circled as, man, that's such a tough place to play, and they're going to really want it. You're talking about the two big rivals, the Southwest Classic and the Tom Thumb Trophy or whatever it is. What is the trophy called? There's no way you know that trophy. I should know it.
Bonham?
Somebody said that. You
No,
got an earpiece
I don't have my earpiece in. The
Did
bottom.
you say that?
No.
You knew it was. I
I
had no idea it was the Bonham.
Yeah, the bottom.
Tom Thumb is what I thought it was.
No,
So
it's
the
the Bonham
Bonham Trophy.
I don't have anything. You can look at my browser history.
I'm impressed.
Just don't go to my private browser and we're good.
Bonham Trophy and the Southwest Classic. I mean, these are bitter rivals. Arkansas actually is a football
Yeah,
rival.
it is.
But unfortunately, my upset pick last year got them. And this is the one I think you need to be on upset alert.
I'm sorry, I'm going to do this. You're probably going to hate this, and you'll tell me about it. But I did a thing with OB where we did the what if, and I'm really a big believer in my what if.
Mm-hmm.
If Le'Veon doesn't go down, I think A&M is a playoff team. I still believe it. Now,
wow,
maybe or knocking on the door because
Well, they definitely would have been knocking on the door because I think
they were already knocking on the door.
I think they beat, without question, I think they beat Auburn.
I think they beat Auburn, and I think the South Carolina game is played differently.
Oh, I do too.
Okay, and then I think the Texas game, which we were kept on getting, look, they beat our butts, even though we had chances.
But you're saying give you Le'Veon Moss on.
You get one of those 4th and 1s.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big believer in that.
I don't disagree. With the exact way the game went, you look at that Texas game and you go, Amari on that first 4th down got taken down by kind of an arm tackle, like thrown backwards by an arm tackle.
Mhm.
That will not ever happen to Le'Veon Moss. And then who knows down on the goal line what you do. But I think down on that goal line, the blocking was defeated so badly.
Sure.
That maybe he gets in, maybe he doesn't. But I mean,
But of all those 4th and 1s, because there was one in the
There's a
South
bunch-
Carolina
there's a
game with
couple in South
Marcel.
Carolina.
Yeah, that Marcel tried to go.
there was Marcel and Amari.
Right.
I think Le'Veon wasn't hurt for. I think there were 3 of them. And the first one, Le'Veon was still playing.
So I just think that is
He's
such
a great running
He
back.
is an all SEC caliber running back.
First team all SEC.
That the team was 7-1 with, and a different team without, and that's the facts.
And I think it put. And somebody was trying to tell me yesterday they were worried about the running back position. I go, man, you don't even know what Reuben Owens can look like healthy. And then they kind of, EJ Smith. I go, did you watch EJ in the bowl game? That's like something he can really build on. And then Amari Daniel, I'm like, the guy's run for probably 1,500 plus yards at A&M. He's had some good / 100-yard games against SEC teams. Yeah, he's not Le'Veon.
He's really
Again,
good.
Le'Veon's the first. I love A&M's running back stable. When you got Le'Veon, and he will be back. Somebody said, well, he won't even be there till at least midseason. I go, you don't know that at all.
He told
He's
me on
running
our
around
interview.
right now without, and I think he's ahead of schedule. Let's just leave it at that.
Yep.
Simply, we don't want to try to predict too much, but he's ahead of schedule. Ruben, Amari, EJ Smith, and then
Marcel.
I'm talking about 2 true freshmen that I think are really impressive. I'm telling you, and they've made an early impression across the street. Those freshman backs, I love the running back stable. I think the tight end position, just what they look like physically, looks infinitely better. I asked Coach Elko about Amari Knobloch, and he said he's a piece. Like the same thing as Terry Bussey. We talked about he was because what he's saying is he's not a tight end. He's not a wide receiver. He is a versatile.
He's a football player.
He's a versatile pass catching weapon. Mm-hmm. And what I saw, and I'll be honest, like he didn't play at Texas much because of Gunnar Helms' emergence. He was supposed to. They can tell one story now. When he got there, they were telling a different story. And if he's coming back, he'd be right there in the mix. Amari, when I watched him in what limited action I saw as a freshman at Bama, where it was like 20 catches for 300-something yards and a few touchdowns, I felt like he was a taller, skinnier guy, like in that 6'4 plus 230 range, 225 range. You know, like, man, he needs to put on. He is more like 6'3", and I mean, he's a built up. I mean, he's not heavy or thick. You wouldn't describe, but I mean, he's a built up like 6'3", 235, if not 240. You know, like I'd say 6'3", 235 ish, 230. He looks good. He looks more like a tweener, quick, twitchy guy than I expected. Now, what kept him from playing at Texas? Is he going to correct that and fix that here? Because he did play for a lot for Bama as a true freshman. And, you know, Texas A&M's wide receivers coach knows what he was because he had him. You know, Holman Wiggins had him in Tuscaloosa his freshman year. So that tight end position, Burkature, he looks the part. Michael Riley has added weight. They've said he's really tightened up since getting there. So I think the offense in general, and then a guy that's gotten rave reviews to be every bit as good as advertised, and also from a hard work, like busting his ass out there and leading, Casey Concepcion. That's great news. And then Craver's turning heads as well with his quickness and twitch. And you heard Elko mention Ashton Bethel-Roman. I'm excited about where the offense can go in year 2 under Colin Klein.
Yep.
The question is, where can the defense go in year 2 under Mike Elko? Because like he said, like I said, he was, you know, we were way out in front of this on how he was going to handle the defense. In fact, every step of the way, like, hey, everything's on the table to it looks like he's going to do this. Looks like the staff's going to stay intact, to the hire of Coach Hemphill from James Madison. We've been on top of that every step of the way. And he's taking over the play calling. It's going to be his defensive game that's called. He thinks there's going to be a big jump in the secondary. I understand why he said that. It's the last thing to come around to like a new scheme and where experience becomes so significant and so important. I also think there is a talent infusion that's coming. Guys that could make real jumps would be like a Des Ricks, who has also been getting rave reviews. Like, I think he didn't like the way last year ended. I don't think he liked the way he played in his first year of college football, and it sounds like he's taken some pretty extreme measures to correct that in terms of just the desire, the preparation, the work ethic, and all of that. So that one would be really interesting. But what are you adding? I do think Dalton Brooks can take a star turn at safety. He's now got more than enough experience to really just go out there and play football and fly around. But if you look at the new pieces, right? Getting Will Lee back was massive, but you're adding Tyreek Chappelle, who didn't He played one game last year and had that unfortunate injury. He'll be back. You've added Julian Humphrey, who started 10 games at Georgia. You've added a slew of true freshmen that are, to varying degrees, turning heads. But a guy that, I think Elko mentioned him, Miles Davis is really one to watch. He finished the year strong as a true freshman, but he's really turning heads in the offseason. So going into year two, so he's going to factor in at a safety position that already returns Brooks and Ratcliffe and Anderson. And now you're factoring in somebody like Miles Davis. So I probably forgot. I shouldn't forget, because one of the more impressive guys, from what I've heard during the offseason workouts and stuff, is they went and took a corner/nickel from Washington. Shaw has turned a lot of heads, actually. And if you see him just walking around, he's not big. He looks like a nickel, but he's a really smooth-looking athlete and built like he's been in a college weight room for a few years. So a quiet addition that I would expect to be pretty impactful. So, man, when you're talking just about that, I see where Elko says this secondary should make a big jump. The D-line is the most intriguing position to me on the team. I mentioned that to Coach. So many options. You could go basic and feel all right about the D-line of you could go Cassius Howell, who, if he plays like he did in the bowl game, he's an all-SEC guy. Mm-hmm. And he flashed it throughout the year. You got Cassius Howell, Rylan Kennedy, Albert Regis, DJ Hicks. That's a good starting off point. Now, but they all have to hold off. If there's one freshman in the class that I could see starting before any other, it might be Marco Jones.
I was going to say that
even in the SEC as a DN. Look, Colin Simmons did that at Texas last year. South Carolina had one that did that. Like, he's that good.
Yep.
Potentially that good. He looks the part. He acts the part. He works out the part. His tape was the part.
Yep.
But Marco Jones, you got 3 DN transfers. You've got one from Florida, one from Georgia, one from Colorado. Actually, Colorado's most productive. But if you see Impemba and you see Searcy walking around, like, those dudes look like SEC football. So I really like the mix they've got on the defensive line right now. And I forgot one of the more impressive. I think maybe the two most impressive, if I'm talking about like just off looks for the position profile, Burkature at tight end and Searcy at DN and Onyedin as an interior defender. Mm-hmm. Those 3 guys really look at, and you can see why they're excited about them. Yeah. So, yeah, you lost a lot. You lost a first rounder, if not 2, in Shamar and Scorton, and then the 3rd NFL guy in Shamar Turner. But I do actually think the defensive line could recover. For whatever reason, they didn't. Thought early in the year they took over football games. You think Florida, what were some of the other ones? Missouri, Florida, LSU. They took those games over. Arkansas.
Yeah.
Arkansas ran for what? 25? I
think
they ran for 100 yards, including a 30-yard fake
But I think
punt.
they ran well in the first quarter, and that was it.
I don't even know how well they ran. I don't think that's accurate. I think you're talking about Mississippi State that did that. You're talking about Mississippi State. Arkansas did not run. They had like a 10-yard touchdown run in the first quarter, and they had a fake punt for like 25 or 30 yards.
Yep.
They didn't run. The D-line took over the game against Arkansas, Florida, LSU in the second half, and Missouri. We got none of that in the second half of the season for whatever reason, and I don't know why. It didn't happen against South Carolina. I thought they were actually flat out bad up front against Auburn. That was shocking, as Auburn just went up and down the field to start the game, and really even as fourth quarter, game on the line, couldn't get a stop. Overtime, couldn't get a stop. So I thought and then obviously against Texas, a better second half, only gave up 17 points, none in the second half, but they got run on quite a bit. So Not the same group, and I think maybe a fresh start up there would be a good thing.
Yep. Anything else you want to touch on?
No, I don't think so. I mean, fire off. We'll do an Ask Liucci soon, so fire off the rest of your questions there. I thought the sit down with Elko was really interesting and really, I thought informative if you really listen to it.
The only other thing I wanted to get into was we didn't talk Aggie baseball. And
glimmer of hope.
Yeah, I think that glimmer of hope is the way to phrase it.
Look, I'm not one of those that thinks that there's no recovering from this. I'm not one of those that's looking at this team going, they just can't. I said it the other day. If they play the way they've been playing, they will get eaten alive in the SEC. They'll finish like 8-22, 11-19. I don't expect that. I don't think because I don't think they'll play like they've been playing. I need to see that it start getting better this weekend, though. And in that midweek, you need to roll into Alabama, in my opinion, on a 5-game winning streak. And it's not about, at this point, the win-loss record in the non-conference is not, you did yourself, you actually did yourself a lot of damage. It's not irreparable damage, though, because you play in the SEC. They need to be good enough to win a series against Alabama next weekend.
Yep.
2-1. Win a series at home against a good baseball team in Bama, a good SEC team in Bama. To get there, this team needs confidence. They need to start having particular guys seeing and hitting the baseball well. They need to be cleaner in the field. So it was baby steps against TSU. It's TSU. I understand, like they gave A&M all they wanted last year when A&M played for a national title. They almost beat the Aggies. The SWAC teams are better now than I think ever before. Grambling came in here and hung with A&M for a few innings in last year's regional. That was a team that didn't lose a postseason game until the championship series. So nothing against. I'm not saying this is not like playing a high school team anymore, which sometimes I think it used to be. But it's still not a quality team. It's a team that would go, 4-26 in the SEC. They wouldn't even do that. I don't know if they'd win. But they fielded the ball well. They, I thought, looked like they had better at-bats, even though they scored 6, but it looked better. I thought Gavin Cash looked so much more comfortable at first. He looked so uncomfortable in the outfield. And I just thought, you got to get Caden Sorrell back. And those main guys, like I keep saying, I think we know Wyatt Hensler can rake. Gavin Cash is a career first baseman. That might really help him just up here too to hit. But we know we have multiple years of evidence of Gavin Cash going up to the plate and hitting bombs and driving in runs, hitting over 300. We have multiple years of evidence of what Jace Laviolette is. So does MLB, which is why they had him as the potential number 1 overall pick. And there's like 5 years of evidence of the hitter Hayden Schott is. Somebody could say, well, but he's hurt. And I'll say, well, but he had the exact same injury last year and played through it. It's not that. If those 3 guys can just become the hitters they are over
the career,
a long body of work for each player. So my point is, you expect that. It is fair to expect that to happen. And then adding Caden Sorrell, it helps everyone in that lineup.
Yep.
It doesn't mean I'm not concerned about the defense still. It doesn't mean, because if it has to happen now. It can't happen in a month, or you might be out of the postseason. It has to happen it had to have started the other night when you made those changes, and then it had to have started. So they need to win these 3, and they need to win next week and be really mentally feeling good, having fun, and confident to begin SEC play. Because nothing about their performance in the non-conference tells you that this is a good baseball team. Nothing about their performance tells you they're playing with any level of confidence or belief. I don't believe that's this A&M team. I mean, I don't believe that. I think there was a more turnover than you expected because of the Gavin. You took out probably almost 50 home runs with Gavin and Sorrell so far. So you've removed that. I think you got guys in Shot and Jace that missed a ton of the offseason because of offseason, injuries to end last year. They look like guys that missed a lot of time. And I think just with a first-year head coach, and you throw in that struggle, and you miss two guys that could eat up at least once a week 8 innings of bullpen in Cortez and Aschenbeck, and Aschenbeck could do it multiple times in a weekend. So, and then by the way, Stewie was going to replace that, and he's out. So there's been a lot more transition and change than you probably expected. And I think there's a coaching staff and players that are feeling a lot of pressure. I think that's fair to say. I don't think that it means anything less of their ability as coaches or players.
Yep.
But I think never before has there been this much pressure, and maybe not just us, but everyone in the country that covers college baseball, everyone, the SEC coaches, the SEC media, the national media, probably didn't factor that in enough. But when they were ranking them, they also had Grahovec and Sorrell and Stewart in there from day one. You've barely had Gavin, and it was Gavin at like 20%. So you've really been without. That's a ton of pressure. And I think the kids and the coaches were kind of like the weight of those expectations and pressure. It's like expectation to be perfect. And a lot of times when the expectation is perfect, when you do fall, you could fall far short of that. And I've said it before, baseball and golf are, to me, the most mental games there are. And you're watching a team fight through, struggle through it mentally right now. So when I say they've been a bad baseball team to date, that is not a tournament team, that is not an SEC contender. The difference between them and most teams is they've got what it takes to turn it around like that. And I think they just need to see some success, and then they will. And there's the possibility of a great story to be written by those guys across the street. And hopefully this weekend you see them start to snap out of it, because again, if they go into SEC play confident, we know what they're capable of.
Thank you, Billy.
All right. Thank you, David.
See you guys next time.
All right.
TexAgs Live.